7:01 on Thursday, April 25th. Greg is remote tonight, so I will be in-person chairing. Forgive me if I make any silly procedural errors. So I call this meeting of the Grafton Finance Committee to order. We have with us in person Dan, we have with us in person Kyle, myself Victoria, as well as Skip, and remote online we have Greg and Heather. Oakley dokley.
Yeah.
So tonight on the agenda we are going to be going through each of the warrant articles, the public hearing for the warrant articles for the town meeting coming up in just a couple of weeks. Then we shall go through our recommendations for the articles that we've reviewed, as well as review the state of the town message that Greg has prepared for us. He sent us over the draft this morning, and it's looking pretty good, I think. So that should be a pretty quick one. We're lucky to have a pretty nice full house with us this evening to go through the warrant articles. And unless I need to review the legal notice, I think we can get started. The first on the agenda are the articles for the Community Preservation Committee, which encompasses 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I can count.
You just need to vote real quick to open the public hearing.
Oh, right.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Perfect. Okay. Dan?
All those by roll call.
All those by roll call. Dan?
Aye.
Nick? Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Nick is not here. Okay, great. That is unanimous. We are open for the public hearing. And whomst is running for the Community Preservation Committee?
I think Mr. Stevens is here with us tonight, and Mr. Holberger.
Perfect. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go in order, as I think that might be the easiest way to go through. So that is beginning with Article 26. That is to see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve the funds below for the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues.
Okay.
Okay, this the first article is the one commonly known as the CPC budget. It lays out the estimated revenue first calculates the estimated revenue for the fiscal 2025, and then from that it calculates the reserves. So, and it's we do it exactly the same way pretty much every single year. Mm-hmm. And so we lay out $24,000 for administrative expenses, and typically the committee spends about half of that, and the rest of it flushes back into the undesignated fund at the end of the fiscal year. The three reserves are $78,409, the three 10% reserves, and the remainder. From that point, the remainder of the estimated revenues gets flushed into what's called the budgeted reserve. And I just was comparing these numbers to my spreadsheet numbers and discovered that the last two digits of the budgeted reserve are reversed. It should be 464,864, not 46. Hopefully that can be corrected on the floor.
I wouldn't bother.
Excuse me?
I wouldn't bother. To estimated reserves.
Because it's so small.
It's not material, true.
Yeah. I would think that the amendment would not be worth the
18 bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It'll flush out
Yep.
at the end of the year, and it's totally immaterial.
I think we'll.
Okay, good. Good. At least it was the low numbers that were transposed.
Yeah, when you said transpose, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But those two can probably stay.
Okay, good point. So that's Article 26.
Okay, any general questions? I think it's also worth stating that this is the public hearing for all of these budgetary line items. The Finance Committee has met individually on multiple occasions with every single person party to all of these numbers. So this is really the opportunity for the public to ask questions, as we've all had the opportunity to see these kind of ad nauseum. So please feel free to raise hands, speak out, let us know if anyone's on Zoom. Okay, so on to Article 27.
Article 27 is a bond payment for the what's known as the Pell Farm. It's the 16th of 20, so we're getting close. We'll be at the end of that one before we know it. And the payment is down, the interest plus principal payment is down to $60,000. And so it'll be covered on Article 27.
Awesome. Article 28, if there are no questions.
Article 28 is the bond payment for, no, my mistake, Article 28. Yeah.
Which one is it?
It's-
Because I have
it's-
ours, not yours.
It's for the Grafton Townhouse.
Which number?
Oh, Article 28 is for the bond payment for the Grafton Townhouse. And it's the 10th of 20, halfway there. And so that would be taken from the historical reserve account, $75,000.
Great. 29.
Is that
This is
The rental assistance program.
Okay, the rental assistance is a continuation of a grant program that we started a year ago.
Yeah, last year. I recall that.
That started with $10,000, and most of those funds have already been either used or encumbered within the housing authority's application process. And so we asked Jack, who's here tonight, to submit quickly another warrant article, and that we could replenish it and increase it, so that in case during the coming year we don't run out of money. It took a while for the program to get started, so it was hard to know how much would be needed, and so we hope this will be enough to at least, if for the next 6 months, to hold them over.
Yeah, I remember the excitement for this from last year. I think we all thought it was a phenomenal idea. In terms of how it's going, the temperature, how people know about it, what would you say the successes have been?
Oh, I mean, because all of it is, we don't know who any of the people, we do know the numbers. I think there have been 4 applicants so far, but each is a different amount. Some people need assistance with a deposit. Some people have medical emergencies, so they need assistance paying the rent. And people come and go, so it's not like it's always going to be a certain amount per applicant, and the needs are going to be different for each applicant. And the other big thing about this is that this is not going to be named for Jim Gallagher, because this was his suggestion and idea that we know now that this is going to be more of a permanent application grant funded program, that we thought that would be the most appropriate thing, because he was on the Housing Authority forever, and was on CPC from day one as well, and was probably Grafton's greatest advocate for affordable housing. So in a little way we can recognize him through this program.
That's really nice. That's cool. Okay, fantastic. On to 30, if there are no questions.
Cisco.
Cisco Homestead, and this we hope is the final phase of their project. We've funded multiple phases of their project over the last 8 to 10 years. And each time they've also received funding from Mass Historical, which is not easy to do, and it's also a really good thing that they are funding it. That gives us takes a lot of weight off of us in terms of having to, that they're the good housekeeping seal of approval in terms of their grant application is so thorough that there's so much detailed information that's required of that, so that even though we've already worked with them for quite some time and with Ray Gould for the entire time of the project, that just gives us more reassurance that this is a very well vetted project that Mass Historical is funding, has provided them historic preservation projects funding grant, which we're helping with the match because it's a matching type program. So again, another good reason to fund them, that they're not asking us for all of the money. They've always been able to get a Mass Historical grant or other funds from the tribe themselves, the members, so that they've come to the table, and we've been able to use different funding sources to create the total package that they needed for each of these projects. This is the final project. They're ultimately going to have a museum that's going to be open to the public. The first was more a feasibility study, and then stabilization, then exterior work, and now this is the final interior work of the project.
Cool.
Yeah, wonderful.
That's great.
I think you have a question both on Zoom and in the audience.
Yes.
So you answered my first question, which was what is involved in this particular phase of the project. My second question was, have all the previous phases been fully expended at this point, or
Yes.
are they still working?
It's been a couple of years, I think, since the last phase, and a lot of this because they're all volunteers. It's not like they have a paid staff that runs this, and Ray is the volunteer that runs all the preservation projects that they do. But it's been maybe a year or two
Yeah, since the most
since they
recent,
finished the last one.
and the
you
first
know,
one was 10 years ago.
right, and we do have a preservation restriction from that, which is a short-term preservation restriction, which again was the one that we had a 2-page at Mass Historical came back because they also require one with a 20 or 24 page one, which was what we basically had to adopt that one. So, and the stuff that you have to promise and agree to. So again, it's not an easy grant to get, and she's worked hard to get that because you really do have to do a lot of paperwork and research to be awarded that, and it's very competitive as well. And Grafton's fortunate that we're a CLG, a certified local government with Mass Historical, which gives us an extra round of funding for if we have historical projects that are funded through Mass Historical. We kind of get an extra bite of the apple that they have money set aside just for those towns that have achieved that status.
All right, thank you.
There was a question in the audience? Oh, awesome.
Next one's the Congo.
31?
Congregational Church.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a project that they are doing preservation of the exterior of the building, which is going to involve replacing rotten wood and repainting that. And they've thankfully broke that out into 2 different projects so that we can see what's because painting is normally not an activity that we can use CPA funds for, right. But because it's painting of restored or preserved wood, not scraping and just painting what's there.
So they split the project into a restoration part and a maintenance part. Gotcha. And this is the restoration part.
So that the funding that they're seeking from us is just for that piece. That's to go in to remove the rotten wood and to then prime and paint that wood. And they're going to use Rhino Shield, which is kind of a long-term, I think it's supposed to last 10 to 20 years. Or maybe, is it 20 years? But it's significantly longer than typical painting. And To do that, though, they have to go down to Bearwood, so it's a much more involved process. But then they guarantee it, and they'll come back and they'll do the if there's a problem, take care of the problem. And part of that was also kind of a concern with Mass Historical like it, because even if we thought that we would fund it, and even if CPA, the coalition said we could do it, if Mass Historical said no, we could not fund it, because they also have a preservation restriction on the building, because they've given them money in the past. So Mass Historical was okay with it because it actually increases the useful life of the building. It's not a 1 or 2 year. It really is a capital project that's adding value to the building rather than just painting it and maintaining it. That's why the cost is for their this project for them is
They've raised quite a bit of money
right
themselves.
of their own money. I think about $50,000 in a month they were able to raise. So.
Any questions?
Any questions on that?
Oh, phenomenal. On to 32.
Which is the Baptist Church. And, interesting that both their neighbors across the common from each other, their restoration project involves the columns, which are in the front. I think there are 4 columns in the front of the building, and it's the base. And I went and looked, and they're both the same design. It looks like it's right on the granite, both of them, but the Congregational Church is on the west side of the common and the Baptist Church is on the east side, so they're getting all the rain and all the weather, whereas the Congregational Church is protected. And so, but the Baptist Church, the base, the columns have started to rot, and so now it's creating a structural issue. So they don't need to replace the columns; they just need to replace the rings, the wooden rings at the base that have begun to rot, and then repaint. And they found, I think both churches had multiple bids and have gone back and forth because they wanted to put in what I call plastic wood. That's not the right word, but
PVC.
Yeah, but not wood. And I said, Mass Historical won't allow it. We can't allow it. CPA requires you use the Secretary of the Interior standards, which requires original type building materials, and they haven't really softened that up, even though it's better to have that plastic wood for decking and that sort of thing. Sure. We couldn't even use it on the townhouse, where you couldn't see it up on the 3rd floor on dormers. We thought that would be great, because then you don't have to worry about it. And because Mass Historical had provided funding, they said no. So we said, you can't do what you're proposed in your funding requests. And so they went back, and the guy came back. I said, use redwood, use cedar, something else. And so they did come back with that, so they can do that. It's just, it costs more.
Yeah.
And it lasts a smaller amount of time. One would also assume it's getting rained on now. But, okay. Any questions on 32 for the Baptist Church? Okay, 33.
I'll take. You want to take this one?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Since the inception of the Community Preservation Committee, since the inception of the Affordable Housing Trust, the practice of the committee has been to transfer its 10% reserve to the trust at the end of the fiscal year, and we've done that way ever since the Affordable Housing Trust was created. But it occurred to us that that's not a requirement. We could just as well transfer the 10% reserve to the Affordable Housing Trust at the beginning of the year. And we've decided that henceforth we are going to do that. So this 1 year of transition, we're going to be transferring the 2024 10% reserve plus the 2025 10% reserve to the Affordable Housing Trust at the onset of the fiscal year, instead of doing the trail end. So this year they get effectively, kind of a double, and going forward they'll be back to the single. But we've advanced them 1 year. And so, Article 34 is to Article 33 is to transfer $152,109 from the Affordable Housing Reserve account to the Affordable Housing Trust. And so what you might notice that we've done is that for 2025, we did the 10% reserve into the, rather 10% amount into the reserve. So that, and then we took it right out again with this one. And so once this is effectively done on July 1st, the reserve account for the CPC reserve account for affordable housing will have gone to zero until next year. That clear enough?
No, it's
Yeah,
clear.
makes sense.
Any particular reason, the impetus for moving it to the beginning of the year? Just convenience?
I don't know why it was done. It was done that way in the beginning, and I don't know why. But all I do know is that we've done it exactly, we've always done it the same way as we did it the year before. And we don't, it's come to our attention that that's not required.
But this makes the money available.
A year
They
and a
don't
half.
have to wait another year to get the money, and they're always behind a year. I think, but I know part of the reason is that we used to wait in town meeting and the state would tell us how much our match was going to be. And usually it was right before town meeting, so we could have the exact match. And I think we were really fixed on we needed to be the exact, not an estimated, because then you have to go back and correct it. And so I think it might have been part of, we wanted to get the absolute correct bottom line number. But now it's that they have pushed that deadline so far past our town meeting that's irrelevant.
Now it's just 10%.
We just have to go by based on the previous year and use a fairly conservative number to say this is what our 10% match. They give you estimates. The coalition, the Community Preservation Coalition, which is a statewide organization that works with community preservation committees in town and the state. They work on fundraising and working with lobbying with the state legislature, but also helping determine what that match will be and trying to work with DOR to get as close a number so that you have a pretty good number. It may not be the exact match, but they'll let you know so that you'll say, and they'll go downward with that number in case if they see that the numbers like right now with the state are not good, so that sometimes they would give us an additional allotment so that you would raise that match, because when Grafton first passed CPA, we received a 100% match. So for every dollar, we got $1, and so now it's down like 20%. Is that 18? I mean, I think they downgraded it a little bit. So it's, and as the state budget is now kind of in flux, it's going to stay pretty much based on the funding source, which is through transfers that they have a tax on, transfers the fee. So it's a very limited source of money, and there's not going to be a lot of extra money, which is going to help to bump that up sometimes to 25 or 30%. So we won't see that anytime soon, I don't think.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, last but not least for the CPC is Article 34.
There was a question on the Grafton Common Restoration, which is almost finished, if the sunset was set for 2023, and the project has continued. COVID, everything has delayed it, but because there were contracts let and the way the bookkeeping is held with the accountant, that those funds were then put in I think it's called a 200 account, 2182.
You talked to Mary.
Yeah, no, I went in and
Sounds like a Mary thing to say. Oh,
A
it's
week
200
ago.
account. And I go, yeah, sure.
Anyway,
Yeah, sounds great.
That's exactly what it is. Definitely.
That means so much.
I've heard that before.
where's my paper?
in any case, this is just a housekeeping warrant.
Housekeeping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Money's already there. It's just a date thing.
I have a question.
Yeah, 282, now 282, which is everything is encumbered in that. Clear the question?
Yeah. So my understanding is that the sunset has already expired on this, and that the original warrant was for the funds to be expended by that date. Is it valid to simply retroactively extend a date that has passed by such a significant amount of time?
There's a difference of opinion of whether the sunset has expired. We did this because we didn't have a choice at the last meeting. We had to get this on the warrant article if we chose to do it, and allowed ourselves the option to pass over it at town meeting. But I did go in last week and I talked to Mary, and we went over, we looked at accounts, that all that the funding is in an encumbered 282 account now, and also the process that she uses with when Joanne was working with us, and she would talk to Joanna or me about what accounts to close out. So that's how you would know if they're active or not, and if they're completed, there's funds to be returned, or it's just a close out the account. This had stayed open because we were still actively working on the project. So
The money was under contract.
right, and so that's why the project was continuing.
If I could.
Okay, so even though the sunset provision had expired, the money was already encumbered.
Money is encumbered.
At that point, all of the money that was allocated.
Yeah, Greg, it's Evan. So, Mary had encumbered those funds in what apparently is a 282 account. Well, I'll pretend we know what that is. And so that money's held in reserve. I had council already review the first iteration of this, and they did not flag that as being really problematic. Just something that's a oversight that we're then going to correct on town meeting floor. And I think, is there different language moving forward for sunsets?
We've changed it to
Right.
where it used to have to go to town meeting, and now it's
Now you can do it, right?
with a 2/3.
Right. So I think council viewed it just as something we're correcting that was missed, and then we've created a different process moving forward. So it should be. I don't think there's an issue, even though it's expired or potentially expired. Council didn't seem to have an issue with that.
Okay.
But there was never any ill will on anybody's part. We were just trying to get the project done, you know, and
I tried to get them all locked up, and they wouldn't do it. So now we're gonna just say it.
Yeah, everyone's hurting
I just want to make sure
Everyone
that
likes us.
it was actually valid to extend something which had already expired. So, thanks.
Makes sense. Okay, any last questions for our efforts from the CPC? No? Okay, thanks,
thank
gentlemen.
you
Really
for letting
appreciate
us
it.
Thanks,
come
y'all.
first.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Get back into our own lion's den.
that's nice. It's nice to be first, right? Okie dokie. So next on our list will be the Board of Sewer Commissioners. Paul's here for that. And that will cover 17, 23, 24, and 25. How's it going this evening?
Great, how are you?
So well, thank you.
Are you cold? Is anybody else cold?
We have a person in the audience who's cold.
Well, Fiona's always cold. I'm gonna adjust it by.
That's fine.
Here, I'll just light this table on fire.
Turn it down a little bit.
Ah, perfect. Look at you, problem solving. Awesome. Okay, so Article 17. This is for the sewer budget.
Yes. So it used to be divvied up all over the budget at town meeting. And so Mary, a few years ago, put it all in its own line in the budget. So in the warrant. So it's just easy to understand what the true cost of running the sewer department is, and it makes it a little clearer to everybody. So literally, so that's the $3.6 million is the debt service, and all the other expenses that go along with the operation of that department. Salaries, insurance, regular O&M,
All the things.
everything wrapped up into one.
Nice.
Any questions about the sewer budget for this year? Seeing none, let's look at Article 23.
So 23 is really, it's an article, if you looked at every town meeting for the last 35 years, that would be on. The next three articles. There are a lot of unknowns that we encounter every day with the system that we have. Things that you cannot account for breaking in a regular budget that happen. You know, there's 16 remote pump stations and all the stuff at the treatment plant. There's just a lot of stuff that can break at any point. So there's money we spend every year that we have no expectation that we, you know, of that item. So that's what covers the cost to replace those unexpected, unplanned for repairs.
For all of the breakable pieces.
You know, some years you don't use much, and other years you spend a lot more than
Sure.
you could ever imagine.
Depends on what breaks.
Yep.
Yeah, moving parts. Okie dokie.
And so 24 is very similar, only with really what that article is the majority, a lot of the costs, we have no control over what they are. Electricity, chemicals, sludge disposal. So for example, we'll get a letter from the magnesium hydroxide supply company saying that prices are going up 10% January 1st. And we can't budget that at all. So all those unknowns that this, you know, and just trying to grab them all and use electricity. If we had a lot of rain like we had in the past, you're running a lot of pumping equipment, which drives the energy cost way up. So that just covers those costs. And again, it's the same thing. Some years you won't use all of it. Other years you use a majority of it.
Just changing raw material and or vendor costs.
Yep.
Perfect. And Article 25.
So 25 is literally upgrading. There's a lot of software that runs that facility. For those of you who've been there and walked around it, there's a lot of moving parts, and so the software updates for that stuff. And right now we're currently working with our design engineers to get rid of the water-based sprinkler system in the electrical room and data rooms to go to a dry system, so inert gas or something like that. So for this year, a good portion of that money will be to design that system inevitably, and then we'll move some money in the fall to cover the cost of the install of the new system.
And I'm sure there's the business case is built around also the replacement cost for, God forbid, something were to happen, water were to go off into a data room, and essentially all of that would be fried.
The data room is honestly is a worry, but the electrical room and the switch gear it probably to replace it would be about $10 million and years to get.
Versus 150 to upgrade
to do the design to get it purchased to do it just a dry system. So
absolutely worth it.
Yep. So those are those.
Very straightforward.
Yep. And I have one more. That's
Article 35.
Article 35, which is
35. Let's do it.
so this is based on. So the town of Sutton is replacing a bridge at the end of our Follette Street, their Depot Street.
Yes.
And the current layout of Follette Street is fine for the existing bridge. For the new updated bridge, it puts the bridge abutment right against the existing layout, which doesn't allow for any long-term maintenance of that abutment once the project's over. So this will move the layout of that road 488 square feet. Really, it's a sliver of land along the abutment of the bridge. So you think of 488 feet as from me to you in a square.
Yeah.
And it's just a sliver, say 6 feet wide for over, whatever that multiplies by.
However many other feet that is.
That is, yeah.
It's a 282 account.
We were discussing math earlier.
Yeah.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
Seems pretty.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It really doesn't do anything for us other than the bridge gets replaced
Right.
in Sutton. So
And it's,
And they're covering that, so all we have to do is give them.
it's really, it's a MassDOT job. There's no for the town of Grafton, we have one easement on the people's property who would, that layout affects, and it's $1,400 for the easements on their property, so.
So they'll get a check for that, and we'll
Yep.
help MassDOT get into compliance with what we need to be.
Cool.
Yep. All right, that's it from me.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty.
Appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Oh, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, so part D is the Cable Oversight Committee, which is Article 18. Mr. Bob? How are you this evening?
I am well. How about you?
Doing excellent, thank you. Coming right along.
So this is the budget that funds Grafton Community Television, pays the staff, keeps the lights on, replaces equipment, upgrades.
Yeah, we had covered it.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty much line by line previously a couple of times. I don't know if there are any additional questions.
I don't have any.
I don't have any.
Okay. I got dressed up for nothing.
Well.
Good practice.
You look very nice.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, Bob.
We could ask you some tough questions if you want.
Go ahead.
All right, you volunteered.
Prepared.
You really need all the...
No, once again, just underscoring that this is for the public's benefit. Okay. Easy peasy. So that would be on to E, Section E, the Planning Board, which is Articles 36, 37, and 38.
Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you two this evening?
Oh, how are you?
Excellent, thank you.
How's the temperature feeling?
It's good.
Yeah, you
I
want
still have my
warmer?
coat on, but it's better now.
Definitely warm it up.
It went up, right? There's no like happy medium.
No,
No.
it's immediate.
Good.
No,
This is
no,
perfect.
Just burning up.
Sauna. Love it.
When Fiona leaves, we'll turn it down. We're better prepared
Oh,
for the
poor Amber.
You should get the short sleeve. You should get. Come on, Amber.
You can exchange jackets.
Right, so thank you all for having us this evening. I'm here, I'm Fiona Coughlin, Town Planner for the Town of Grafton. Here on behalf of the Planning Board, I'm joined by Dave Robbins, who's our Vice Chair, to present on this article. So I'll just give a brief background about why we're doing this. This one is relatively straightforward, Article 36. The Department of Housing and Community Development changed their name last year, so we are modifying our bylaw to accommodate the name change. It's really that simple. Compared to normal planning articles, this one is easy peasy. So,
To the last time you
That was
visited us?
400 hours. of
yes,
discussion
October
at the
was
town meeting
tough.
floor.
No, so we won't put you through that this time. Section 10 of our bylaw was the only section that did not incorporate the changes. So changing the abbreviation DHCD to EUHLC and Department of Housing and Community Development to Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Our MBTA communities bylaw and our North Grafton Transit Village Overlay District also have these changes already made. So we're just in line with that.
Madam Chair, you have one hand on Zoom.
Greg, please.
So I see you have DHCD underlined, the definition. Is that supposed to be removed?
Yes, the DHCD will be removed. Any reference to DHCD and Department of Housing Community Development.
What I think
It
Greg
says,
is saying is
deleted text is struck out, but it's underlined, so.
Right. In the warrant, it's printed as underlined. It should have been struck out.
Yes, sorry. I don't have the. I don't have that in front of me.
Oh, I see.
Good catch.
If we want to be picky, I suppose we could amend the motion on town meeting floor.
Floor, yeah.
we'll talk to council about whether we can make the changes non-substantive, because it clearly is supposed to be strike through, not underline, or whether we need to do an amendment, and we can go
Yeah,
from there.
let's find the simplest way forward we can.
Yep, absolutely.
We did a lot. We did some of this last fall, and I think we can keep it as simple as possible.
Yes,
Love it.
yes.
Yeah, last fall we had some other issues with how things happened to end up printed in the warrant, which weren't printed anywhere near the way we wanted them to for one article. But
Right.
we took care of it.
Yep. We whipped William. Public
Crack down on
swears,
William.
stuff. Public shaming.
That one's okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty, so I'll just go into 37.
Please.
So Article 37, another pretty straightforward article. We are updating section 1.3.3.4 of our bylaw, titled Site Plan Review. We are simply removing a reference to the associate member vote. So the quote is, that's being removed is one of whom may be the associate member when sitting in review of the application. That's pertaining to the vote. So the Attorney General updated the law, and that is no longer a thing. So the associate member can only step in on a special permit decision in the event there's a conflict of interest or what have you. They cannot vote on site plan approvals. So that's what this is pertaining to. So just staying in line with the law and the Attorney General's requirements.
Yep, and we might change it again next year, but there's some movement in the legislature to expand what a planning board associate member is allowed to do. But if that ever happens, it's our legislature. You never know.
You'll see us again to fix
We
it.
might do something with this.
To go back.
We look forward to it.
Yeah.
I don't hold my breath for anything from in the legislature.
Yes, it's very slow moving. Okay, that one's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Righty. So the next one is Article 38 is pertaining to our village mixed use bylaw. So section 13, we are proposing to add a new section 12.2.2.3 to the bylaw to allow applicants to request waivers from requirements in the bylaw. So for those who are not familiar, our VMU requirements are very specific. It's a form-based code type of zoning with a lot of very particular design and stylistic requirements that don't always apply to every application that we see. The village mixed-use districts, of which there are 4, accommodate a variety of uses ranging from manufacturing, commercial, residential, mixed use. And we've had a few applications now where there's been significant challenges on behalf of the applicant to meet these detailed requirements. You know, I'll just pull an example. We recently had a special permit before us for a manufacturing facility in South Grafton, and obviously the flex fabrication building style, it was not going to install, antique characteristically historic lampposts every, certain feet that hit a certain candle width. It's those really like granular elements that we're just trying to make this a little bit more realistic. And this is a temporary measure that we're going to do. We're going to significantly rework this section. This zoning was adopted in 2019, and we've only seen 3 applications. Two in the past year. So the interest in the VMU districts is growing, but since the adoption of the zoning, we haven't had, too much. But now that we're seeing more activity, we want to try and meet people in the middle a little bit and then give us an opportunity to revisit some of these requirements. And with the change, it's just a request for a waiver. So they still have to provide justification. You can't just, they're not going to just get it. They'll have to defend their position to the board. And a couple of other changes. There's a variety of grammatical spelling errors that are rectified. We are similar to Article 37. We're removing an unnecessary reference to the associate member vote in section 12.9.2. And I did provide some clarifying language throughout the bylaw to just specify that what applies to who, what new applicants are responsible for. There's provisions in the bylaw for crosswalks and things like that where, we just want to make it very clear that it's new applications. If you're proposing new development or redevelopment, the applicant is responsible for certain elements, and we're just trying to make it clearer for everybody. This is definitely one of our more challenging sections of the zoning that trying to help folks out with a little bit.
Yeah,
So.
this is what happens when you actually try to use and apply the bylaw.
Yes.
I mean, the first version of it was adopted back in 2012, but
Oh, 2012.
it's only recently that we've actually been reviewing projects under that, and that's when you realize that maybe it wasn't written quite as clearly as it should have been.
Right, and we're going to be seeing a lot of applications coming up in the VMU districts all around Grafton, so.
Which is
Just,
a great thing.
sorry?
Which is a great thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing, definitely, but just, try and account for some of that activity that we're going to be seeing as well.
Yeah, make everyone's lives easier.
Yeah.
So I do have one comment. I was just reading through, and I see there's a section 12.12.3.1 that doesn't have any changes in it, and I think there was supposed to be a typo fix on hierarchy. Because it's missing a Y, so I'm guessing there was supposed to be a bold Y there. Oh, I see a bold comma after secondary, so maybe that's what it was.
Oh, it's correct in the bylaw, Greg.
Okay, okay.
I think that's just,
I couldn't see any changes because the bold comma did not stand out very much.
Yeah, I know. That was just me getting really a little too OCD about grammar.
Comma,
Oh, that's
play.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we
Love
got
that.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. This is probably somewhat familiar to Greg and Skip, because when we were going through the bylaw revisions, part of what we looked at was, can you actually see in the warrant article what's intended to be changed? And cases like this, it's almost invisible.
Yeah.
So I know we went through the, not to get too far off the topic, but when we produced the warrant articles for the bylaw changes, we really tried hard to avoid the almost impossible to see changes. We would, underline instead of bold for additions. We try not to just have a single, instead of just a comma, we would cross out the word and then add the word with a comma after it, just to make it more readable.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Any additional questions?
Madam Chair, before we let Fiona off the hook, could you talk about Article 39?
Yes. Yeah.
It's different on FinCom's agenda, so.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Just wanted to prompt that, because Fiona is intimately familiar with the content,
Yes.
and I've explained it to the select board incorrectly, and William did it on our warrant review also incorrectly, so it would be great for Fiona to
Yeah.
actually correct the record on
Third
what
time's
this is
charm.
doing.
Yeah. You're not a huge zoning and planning nerd, Evan?
Mine wasn't even close.
I'm glad you're going through this. Yes.
So do we have the proponent for this one, or is just Fiona going to do it?
The proponent is not here.
Okay.
We have not seen the proponent at any of the public meetings, so we're not even sure about town meeting, correct?
He confirmed to me that he will be presenting on town meeting.
Town meeting floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Fitzgerald will be there.
Okay.
Okay, so for Article 39, so this is a citizen's petition, as you all know. So it's not being recommended for acceptance by the board specifically, but because it's a zoning article, we did want to have some level of oversight about what the language is going to be. Right, it's going to dictate a lot going forward, and we want to make sure that it's worded correctly and what have you. So the proposed changes are to add a definition, to add two definitions under Section 2 of the bylaw for clinics and hospitals, and that change is going to accompany a change in the use table, so Appendix A of the bylaw, to allow for for-profit, outpatient-only clinics up to 5,000 square feet. So in the bylaw currently, there is a line item just above this under business uses that's the same language, and it's prohibited in the agricultural R40 and R20 zones, is by special permit in the multifamily district, is prohibited in neighborhood business, special permit in commercial business, prohibited in industrial, special permit in office light industrial, I'm sorry, I'm almost done, and VMU, it's prohibited. So what we did was we took that existing line item for hospitals and clinics for in and outpatient care for profit that's already in the bylaw and put underneath a sub bullet A for clinics for outpatient care only for profit up to 5,000 square feet of floor area per establishment, and use the same requirements. So if it's prohibited if hospitals and clinics for outpatient care and inpatient care are prohibited in R20, this is prohibited in R20. But what the only change, the major change is we're recommending to town meeting to allow this by site plan review only in the village mixed use districts. So they won't have to get a special permit. It's a faster process. It's really it's more like a design review, confirming, utilities, drainage, all that checks out. But they won't have to go for a special permit process, which is longer. And I think that we agreed that we can get a good grip on a development proposal through this permitting mechanism without having to do a special permit. The applicant came before the board multiple times just to get to get their feedback, and just make sure that he's wording the language correctly. But he is a local business owner, landowner in town, and a resident who is interested in revitalizing the Bolek Plaza area, which is VMU TV. So that was how we kind of got here, and that's the logic as to where we're at now with this.
Are there any existing facilities that I guess would be applied to at all? It's just like a potentially a future planned one.
Yeah, this is going to be for a future planned. We do, a lot of folks in town get confused with the Minute Clinic, which is actually an accessory use. It's under a different use category. So this would be its own use.
Urgent care.
Yeah, it's an urgent care.
Yeah,
So
it's more, it's more along the lines. It's not exactly classified as urgent care. It's maybe a little bit similar, but not quite the same. But it's a little bit more intensive use than, either like something like a Minute Clinic or the UMass office or anything that we really have in town. It's closer in feel to an urgent care, something like a higher level of care than just a plain old clinic.
Would it be safe to say that the planning board is okay with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the planning board recommends the adoption of this, and as Fiona said, we did have some discussions with the proponent.
Yeah, okay.
So it almost could have been submitted by the planning board. I think that's how much we're in support of the concept.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And dentist office, how is that being? Because I see dental in here, which is the only reason why.
That's under a different use category as well. I believe that's under the testing me. That's under the.
Sorry, I thought.
No, I'm joking.
I saw dental clinic. That's why I asked.
Dentists, doctors, and like professional offices.
Offices of
yeah.
licensed medical and dental practitioners.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an existing category.
We like to over-categorize in planning.
I can't explain it.
Again, not to get too far into the weeds of zoning and zoning details, but the more detail you put into a use table, the tougher it is to apply it to a case that you haven't completely anticipated.
Right.
So that's why we kind of keep modifying it when a new idea comes up that we hadn't previously thought of.
Yeah, as needs in town change, development trends change. It's just normal, part of the course. But yeah,
That's how we do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have a question for Evan. The citizens petition from the April 16th select board meeting packet had a nicely formatted changes document. Can we put that at the end of our
that'll be Appendix D.
recommendations?
That'll be Appendix D.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no other questions.
Thanks.
Somebody's monitoring the
Angelina.
Zoom attendees, right?
What is the village mixed use
Somebody's monitoring Zoom attendees.
category? What fits into that?
Yep, that's a great question. So the VMU districts, there's 4 in town. There's one on Worcester Street, there's one on Upton Street, South, and then there's one in South Grafton, and then on Route 30. So they accommodate a variety of uses. It's their purpose really is to promote mixed use, of incorporating, commercial and residential elements, either within a structure itself or those different uses on a plot of land. And when I wasn't, here when it was originally passed, but I can tell you that, there was sort of, without design guidelines being established, we were trying to incorporate a more kind of villagey type feel, more historically leaning character elements, and just kind of create these more diverse, quaint kind of style sectors in town, where that also had a good degree of flexibility in targeted areas. So as I mentioned before, we've had an application for a manufacturing use. But really, there's a lot of different land uses that can go into any one of the village mixed use. Some of them are different than others, depending on which. I don't know how granular we want to get here, but granular. Yeah. But yeah, there's
an easy thing to solve this question from her question, and other people will have the same question. Bring the slide.
Yeah.
Just to pop it right up and say, here's the 4 mixed use, the VMUs.
Yeah, we can show you where they are. There are 2 reports that you can find on them somewhere in the planning department's area of the town website that will give you some illustrations of the kinds of, the concepts for the kind of development that prompted the development of these districts. There's a North Grafton Transit Village study, I believe, and there's a Worcester Street something or other study. Yes. Those documents will have some illustrations of what we were thinking about when we created these districts. We have two mixed-use projects that have been approved by the board. Neither one of them are yet under construction, but there are approved plans, both up in the commuter rail station area. Yep. The infamous 8 Pine Street project, for one. But yeah, if you're curious,
just
curious about what
people ask that very same question. Where are these, anyways? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You get right here, there, and there.
Perfect. Can do that.
Yeah,
and we've got a handy slide that shows where the mixed-use districts are and what projects have been reviewed in those districts.
Yes. Work's already done.
Right.
Thank you, Angelina, for that question. And Greg has prompted me, thank you for the reminder, to state for the record that Angelina has joined us on Zoom as a member of the Finance Committee. And Heather, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I guess it also could help if you can give an example of it. I think don't they have mixed use in Westboro that
Yeah,
I can't remember what
Bay
the plaza
State
is
Commons
called.
is a large mixed-use development in Westboro.
So why don't you just, if you say Bay State Common, everyone in the area is going to know what mixed use is.
Or if you want to refer to 2 other Lakeway Commons in Shrewsbury and Edgemere Crossing in Shrewsbury.
If you kind of give people, if you say that, then they can kind of visualize what you're talking
on the
about.
other hand, those are rather larger in scale.
Yes, they're obviously much larger, but at least you can understand what it is.
They're much larger in scale than anything that we could do in Grafton, given our current zoning.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least it'll give people an idea of what it is.
Scales to Grafton.
We have some mixed use buildings around the common, right? Where there's commercial on the first floor, apartments above them.
Yes, they're non-conforming to current zoning, but they are mixed use. And some of that's kind of, and even Bullock Plaza is actually mixed use. There are some apartments in the back part of that.
Yep.
So we have some existing smaller scale mixed use that actually are consistent with the ideas behind the zoning.
Phenomenal.
I didn't think we were going to be talking that much about mixed use,
I
but
know.
hey.
Well, planning and zoning, it's cool. Thank you all. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate
Good
you
night.
guys stopping by.
Of course.
Okay, moving right along to the remainder of the citizens' petitions, which is Article 40, 41, 42, and 43.
It's okay if I can go on.
Of course.
Excuse my attire coming right off the field.
You are completely fine. How's it going?
A little tired, but happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. Thank you so much for your time to come and speak with us through these articles. Very much so appreciate it.
Yes.
And I believe we have a presentation. That's phenomenal. Please,
Yes.
Take it away.
Okay. So I come before you with three citizens' petitions, so Article 40, 41, and 42. They're sparked by experiences from me and my fellow citizens, and ones that we feel should be addressed at a systems level. So that's why I'm here. If you can go to the next slide. So a little bit about myself, just because I think that's important to know. I've been a resident in Grafton since 2006, a parent in Grafton since 2014. Was part of the Rec Commission for a year, coach 2022 to present, and active citizen politically at least since 2023. And I think in most people, there's a reason, something that sparks your interest or getting involved. Next slide, please. So Article 40, my petition here, I'm proposing that the citizens of Grafton vote to change Section 8.5 of the Charter, which is the same as the bylaw Article 1, Section 9-2. The town administrator shall appoint. That's the part. So I'm changing from indefinite to 3-year terms. That's the proposal here. Go to the next slide. I think I have. So I love learning about this process because I went for making a change to the to our charter because my understanding was that was our highest level, if you will, and then I found out that that is the part that I wanted to change is being removed from the charter, but it is not redundant, but it is repeated as well in the bylaw. So I'll learn that process. So in here I have some things about amendments that will have to take place on the floor. So learning on the fly, connected with the moderator already to learn what do I need to do. So that's why I have this in our slide this way. So it's bylaw Article 1, Section 9-2. So why did I bring this forth here? I've written, no citizen should live in fear and feel that individuals have so entrenched themselves in power that it's calcified and cannot be changed. The petition that we have to bring forward is an attempt to make change and decalcify fear and the imbalance in power. It's important to note that as a first-time petition writer and first-time bylaw charter reader, I did not get overly creative with what I wrote. I'm simply asking you to apply the same 3-year term you have written in the bylaws and charter for our town clerk, our town collector / treasurer, and town accountant to our building department. In short, I didn't write this. The words you see before you, it's something that we already wrote, so already existed. And it's also in line with Massachusetts law as well. If you go to the next slide here, so one thing that came up was a concern about there aren't other towns that did this. So research shows that here are towns in some different ways that building inspectors and different inspectors are set up. I was able to get in touch with 9 different towns. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see just based on the ones that I've done, if we need more, that's fine too. 70% do have a term of 3 years or less, and it's not set up as something that is indefinite. It is also worth noting where it does have 3 years. In some of them, they do have the ability to renew, so that is an option as well. To quote, they may be appointed for successive terms of office. So that's my Article 40. Any questions about that, or do we move forward?
We still have. Can you go back to the language that you're proposing? So make sure that when you are doing this, you are looking at the most recent version of the town bylaws, which are linked from the town clerk's page. I just found out that if you go to the bylaws from the town administrator page, you get the version of the bylaws before the most recent amendments, where these three offices are actually listed. These three offices are no longer listed in Article 1, Section 9-2, so need to make sure that you word your substitute motion appropriately.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta be work on the right version or else it won't work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so note for Evan, that needs to be updated.
Yeah, I write it down.
So town clerk page, is there a something in parentheses, whoever I'm speaking to, that can, so I know, like, hey, it says version, so I know I'm getting the right thing, like it says version.
Yes.
2023.
It says,
Thank you. They're gonna send me a link. They're gonna send me a link. Thank you.
And then we gotta change that.
it will say when it was last amended. So you want the one that was amended in October of 2023.
Yeah, I just found it at the end of the file name. It says 10-16-2023.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to comment on something that was said at the select board meeting about this. Somehow the idea came into discussion that this was like 3 years and then you're out and can't be reappointed. But to me, it seems like that's not the case, because this is the same wording as for several other offices where we do reappoint people regularly. So I just wanted to address that I'm very confident that's not the case for this wording.
So depending on which appointment the town has adopted, the one that's generally used in Massachusetts, a building inspector can be 3 years or more. I don't know where towns do 2 or 1. They may have adopted a different Mass General law.
Home rule charter probably as well.
Or through charter instead of statute.
Yep.
Yeah. So the statute states that if you actually use the statute, so it leaves room for it. So that's chapter 143, and it says 3 year or more.
Right.
Yeah. And yes, regarding the language, so there's questions to me, but I didn't write the language, and I did call after that to find out about the town collector, and even that was like a maybe answer. It wasn't as clear as some other towns in terms of, yep, they can be reappointed. It was kind of, I think so. So I didn't write the language. I'm just asking that it be applied the same way that we applied otherwise.
Evan, is gas different
Then what?
than the others?
Not really.
For some reason, I thought that the gas part had been treated differently, and I don't know why.
Not that I'm aware of, top of mind. I think that the bylaw can dictate the 3 years. I mean, it's important to note that it's 3 years and then reappointment, really, unless you have cause.
Right. They can be removed for cause at any time.
Right. So indefinite does that as well.
Right. That's entirely immaterial. Whether it's 3 years or indefinite, it's a formality for the appointing authority to make the appointment after 3 years.
If you have somebody that's a 3-year term and you do not reappoint them, not for cause, and they're in a protected class, you're definitely getting sued.
Right.
Just to be, it doesn't automatically mean that that's a easy cutoff for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how would this work with our? Because right now everyone's appointed an indefinite term. Will we all, as soon as this gets passed, will they go up for reappointment then, and then that would be from that point for 3 extra years, or like when does that restart if this gets passed?
That's my understanding of it, is that once we get it back from the AG's office and it clears, that we would, from that demarcation, which I think council would have to lay out for us for employment purposes, it would be 3 years from that, because generally our reappointment terms are July 1 through the following.
Sure.
Is the fact that this is a question I'm just throwing out there, is the fact that Grafton has an indefinite term make this town more attractive for someone seeking employment as a inspector of buildings versus towns around us that are competitive that might cut them at 3. In other words, regardless of who happens to have that position today, whatever this action is against any individual, what about tomorrow once that individual retires and we're looking to hire someone else? Are we putting ourselves at a disadvantage?
It would make no difference either way. Because the only way for you to remove them is to bring them up before the appointing authority and have them removed.
And have some sort of cause.
So if you get an indefinite appointment, the only difference would be is the perception that you would not be able to be reappointed at the end of a 3-year term. If you didn't get reappointed, and as Evan said, you're in a protected class, you have to reappoint them unless they've done something totally wrong, in which case you would remove them regardless of the length of their term or not.
My question does, in fact, and you say perception is all about perception.
Yeah.
I'm completely understanding of like the logistics here. I'm simply thinking from would I want to work at some place that could just let me go after 3 years because I'm not in a protected
Try being
class?
a town administrator. Everything's like that. So, I don't think the impact would be huge as far as I mean, we can't attract people now. No one wants to work in municipal government because
it's a fair point.
This is the stuff that we kind of, these are the conversations that we have for people in positions, right? So, I think that changing from indefinite term to 3 years, I don't think is going to really hurt us in the candidate pool.
Okay.
There are plenty of towns that do 3 years on almost everything. I think Grafton tried to streamline that so that we're not chasing reappointments and dealing with that. But I don't think that it necessarily is going to hurt us that much in the job market.
Go ahead.
I was going to call on Angelina first, and then we'll move to you.
Sure.
I guess I'm wondering now for the gentleman who brought this forward. Sorry, forgot your name. Is this what you were looking to do with the 3-year, changing it to 3? It doesn't sound like effectively it's going to make a difference, like practically with how this all gets carried out. And to Evan, is there a way to appoint people for just a term and then you get reappointed where it's not an automatic in a position like this?
Okay, thanks, Mike. So none of it's automatic, right? So I would have to do a reappointment every 3 years. And then that would have to be, I'm assuming this is going to work the same way, this would have to be then affirmed by the select board within 15 days of my appointment. Otherwise, that is automatic. But practically, my reappointment every 3 years is automatic in the sense that if there is not cause, I'm really not going to put the town at risk of a MCAD complaint or a employment lawsuit just because I don't want to reappoint that person. I mean, we do it kind of all the time.
It just becomes part of your normal
Correct.
rolling.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to show why you're not reappointing. I mean, there I guess are people that you could not reappoint and they would just go away.
Sure.
But in 2024, I don't think that's the most likely scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
Is there still a question for me?
Is this still, like, I guess what Angelina's point was, knowing that, does the spirit of what you're trying to do here still match what the practicality of it is?
I would say spirit, yes, based on what we talk about perception. The indefinite has a certain perception to it, and I think it gives hope that hopefully more people will speak up publicly if they do have issues where they see an opportunity that feels like an opportunity, that feels like hope, instead of having private conversations and in hearsay. So I'm learning, and I think we're always better for trying. So I'm here for it.
And I don't fault you for trying, but regardless of the term, indefinite term or 3-year term, nothing will happen unless people do speak up and make a complaint to the appointing authority. So regardless of this, whether it makes you feel good or not, or whoever was the group of people that wanted to do this feels good, changing the terms to make people feel good, but making no substantive change in reality just kind of doesn't seem right to me. Because you're not changing anything at all. Other than you're seeing 3 years instead of indefinite.
The idea being that the mechanism for change is still always going to be the voice of individuals, not necessarily bylaw terms.
Right, because this will do absolutely nothing other than make somebody feel good.
Well, not nothing. I mean, there still is an appointment process that happens that changes.
But but
even if it's effectively, there still is a change to the process.
It does give
It's
you
a message.
It does give you a demarcation point, because I guess in theory, there may be times in which, even though you are putting the town at risk for suit, the action may outweigh the risk. Right? There are times where towns just say, I don't care what happens after this. You can sue us if you want.
I'm going to let Angelina.
Okay, and I just think that if you did that without having somebody come to you with concrete stuff for you to review about why this person should not be reappointed, and you just did it haphazardly without any kind of particular reason, then it's such a great thing.
No one's saying haphazard, though.
How is that different from our town clerk, town collector, treasurer, and town accountant, where it reads 3 years? So it does exist.
I was going to ask that question.
It does exist, so I'm not making it up.
Right.
But this comes back to Evan's statement about this being a protected person and what the effect of getting rid of a protected person without cause does.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, why do we have some of these, full-time jobs as indefinite terms and some as 3-year terms? Is there actually any effective difference then? Or is it really just a procedural, check the box thing every 3 years to rehire a person?
Not to digress terribly much, Dave, we talked about this when we were doing the bylaw thing, is why some of these things are indefinite and other ones are for certain periods of time. And we never really got much.
I might offer a comment on that particular topic. I'm just looking at the report of the bylaw study committee, which highlights what we removed and what we preserved. And from the bylaw, Article 1, Section 9, we removed almost all of these positions that mentioned either 3 years or indefinite. We removed all of those. We kept only a couple of things that needed to be specified in bylaw. And that was the Board of Assessors, the Recreation Commission, Traffic Safety Committee, Sealer Weights and Measures. Those we kept because in our judgment, the bylaw needed to say something about those. But there were a dozen or more positions that we removed from the bylaws. Some of them specified 3 years, some of them specified an indefinite term. But the bylaw committee, when we were reviewing these, felt that it wasn't necessary for the bylaw to list all these appointments because these are only a subset of all the appointments that the town administrator makes. And through the town charter, the town administrator is given the authority to appoint every position except for a few that are specifically named as select board appointments or elective.
Right.
So we felt that the charter adequately covered all that, and the bylaw did not need to
include all this.
Didn't need to add anything about terms. Now, if we wanted to specify, if the town wants to specify limited terms for certain positions, Article 1, Section 9 of the bylaw would be an appropriate place to do so.
And I think so sealer of weights and measures may be what I was remembering, because that's an entirely different, not gas. Okay, so that's
it works entirely differently in the
right.
municipal world.
Right.
Angelina has been patiently waiting for multiple minutes now. Angelina, please go ahead.
So I think that perception that it's not useless to change it or ineffective or whatever. I think the perception of, I think you're absolutely right, the gentleman who brought this forward, the perception that this position is indefinite to the public is going to make you, I mean, I've been in this town for 20 years and I was under the impression that there was no changing this situation. And so if you have people who see that someone's on a 3-year term, they're far more likely to step up and say, this is a problem, than if you just hear that someone's on an indefinite term and it feels like there's no way to change that. Just having a term, I think you're absolutely right. That will encourage people to speak up when there's an issue, as opposed to just believing that this can just go on and on and on indefinitely. I mean, it says indefinite term, and most of us don't look into, I mean, I've been on the FinCom for 4 years. I didn't realize that this could change. So I think that it's worthwhile to make this change.
So I just wanted to clarify with the bylaw and charter changes recently. So the bylaw changes have gone through, and they're, if you find the right PDF, they're on the website. We also made some charter changes, right, at the last town meeting? Have those gone through? Those are still...
They're with the legislature, likely to be voted in July.
And are those changes available on the website somewhere? I mean, I guess if you find the town meeting warrant article, they're in there.
That's the only place that I know of that they're available until such time as the legislature votes them to be an actual.
They're in the bylaws study committee report.
Okay.
As well.
So I guess for the members of the bylaw study committee who are present, do you remember if this section that the article would change, is that still in the charter?
No.
No.
So
it's not in the charter or the bylaws.
Right.
So I was just looking through those, and once the charter changes go through, the only place that an indefinite appointment appears in either of them is for the town administrator.
You like them apples?
Okay.
So I guess just to be clear, so
I didn't even have anything to do with it. Plus, just to be clear, I have a 3-year contract, and you can get rid of a town administrator when the contract expires. Just to be clear.
So it will, once those changes go through, it will list these offices: inspector of buildings, wire inspector. It'll list them, but it won't include terms for them.
It will not list them at all.
Right.
Oh, so
neither the charter nor the bylaw will list those offices.
Okay, and so they will just be hired, appointed by the town administrator, just like any of the other roles that have also not been included in either the charter or the bylaws.
Well, one clarification on that. Wire inspector and inspector of gas appliances and gas fittings have their own bylaw sections that just say that they are appointed with respect to specific sections of Mass General Law, and does not specify a term.
Yeah, again, we're kind of getting off into some weeds here, but the town charter basically grants to the town administrator the power to organize the town government the way he sees fit. It means in terms of the various positions, the departments, the department heads. Evan, as the town administrator, can reorganize the whole municipal side of government, he's supposed to submit a reorganization plan for approval to the town meeting, but basically, you know, he's free to, you know, to combine or separate positions as he sees fit for the efficient organization of the town.
So then am I to understand that given those changes moving forward, if this language were to be reinserted into the bylaw, these would be the only positions outside of
I mean, well, the article says to change, so I don't.
And that, so what happened is when we first started, he was finding out that this is going to have to change anyways, because Greg mentioned that this is not what we currently have, and he was saying, yes, I understand.
In the charter.
Charter and the bylaw.
Specifically in the charter. That's
Okay,
what it said. It says that in the charter, the section I want to change in the charter came up and said, wait, that's not gonna be there, buddy. And I said, oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yep. And now through the discussion we've had, we've come to the realization that the change as written here is a change to an obsolete version of the bylaws. This can be further revised to, instead of changing the Grafton bylaws, to add these 3 lines to that section of the bylaws. That would be something along those lines. Would be, and you can work those out as you see fit. But you know, now that you know where to find the latest version of the bylaws.
Kyle, you had an additional question or thought?
Don't we share these roles, positions with other towns as well? No?
Nope.
Okay. Never mind.
Not these ones.
Cool.
We do with, yes, not with each one, thank you.
Okay. I do remember some, but okay. Cool. Then my question's on.
Control and somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would be inserting this language back into the bylaw, and it would be one of the only, let's say, a small handful of administrator appointed positions that have any term specified.
Right, and I think it's fairly unique because, you know, your board of assessors, that's a board of assessors, right? They're not full-time employees, they're not paid at all.
Yeah.
You know, so it's fairly unique that it's a full-time employee.
Yeah, none of the other appointments are employees, so to speak.
Well, the principal assessor is. The bylaw mentions the Board of Assessors to consist of a principal assessor who shall serve full-time, 2 associate assessors shall serve part-time.
That's just their appointment to the Board of Assessors.
The term of all members.
Yeah, it's not under the appointed officer.
That's their term as members of the Board of Assessors.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why the bylaw review was so fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that, didn't we? I would worry that there's a quorum of the bylaw review committee present at this meeting tonight, except that committee no longer exists.
Yeah, and we have another one watching too.
And town clerk, and that is not in this bylaw. It's in a different bylaw.
So don't forget, so that's an elected position that's being changed by town meeting to appointed position per the charter change that we're waiting for the legislature to put forward.
In July.
Hopefully in July.
We could have had those charter changes done as of the ballot next month if we'd chosen that path. But we never anticipate the legislature taking as long as it does to do our charter.
I always anticipate them taking this long because they always do.
So I
I'm
guess
telling you guys.
So maybe town clerk was the
Hope springs eternal, right?
Yeah.
Maybe town clerk was the wrong, but like other appointed positions within town government, the only one that actually has any term limit specified is administrator. All the ones are now going to be removed.
That's my understanding, correct?
So yes.
I think so. I think
yeah.
I mean
that's my understanding.
Because that changes
in terms of employees.
Because if the point of this article was to bring it into alignment with other roles in the bylaws, that's one thing. But if the point of this article is to provide term limits to specific positions that don't exist anywhere else, that's quite a different thing. So, I'd be curious. Now, knowing that, you know, I guess, is there thoughts there, or?
I was gonna say, who's the question for?
I mean, I guess whoever wants to answer. Yeah.
So this is just kind of at time. You'll notice this is more than the other things. It's kind of a brain dump here that's going on.
Yeah.
People are just throwing out their stuff and having to clarify. Dave, do you remember if like Gerard Goslin was full time?
I don't remember.
And that I asked that he was a building inspector in getting back into the Wayback Machine, but wondering how far back this indefinite thing was and why it may have been there. There was even some stuff on the fire department that was indefinite and other stuff wasn't.
Right, and I think that's just the nature of municipal government, of things changing over time.
Yeah.
As either the legislature changes things or, you know, just generally time marches on and employment law changes and all the rest of it. And we change part of the bylaw, not the other part of the bylaw. I mean, I think that's why the bylaw study committee existed, was to kind of do a sweeping revision instead of the piecemeal revision.
I can tell you, just as a bit of history on that, that as of the adoption of the charter in 1987, the inspector of buildings was listed initially in section 8-5 of the charter and subsequently transferred. The bylaws may have already said something like that, but that basically kind of flowed from the charter, section 8-5, where it is listed as an indefinite term for the building inspector. That flows into the bylaws, which have basically carried that forward, and that language remained in the charter for reasons of confusing everybody who reads everything. Sure.
Yeah.
But at least, and that's about as far back as I can remember.
Or anybody even thought about it.
Yeah.
Okay. In spirit of moving on, because there are two additional related articles here. Yeah. Let's move on to 41, if you'd like, Mr. Bruni. Yeah. And just keep in mind the ramifications of 40 being it is now a sort of directed piece given the updates to the bylaws.
I will try my best because I have it scripted because I knew it would be running from one place to another, but we can dance as we go.
We're very flexible.
Here, let's see. So I'm proposing citizens of Grafton vote for Article 41. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see I have the same thing set up where it goes from charter to bylaws because now I have a choice. I actually do have a choice because it's not in section 8. It's not in that section that's being removed. Okay. I did this because I'm doing the dance. I'm doing the dance of political neo, right? A neophyte where two things are in two different places, or the same things in two different places, and I have to roll the dice and figure out which one is most effective. So be it. Let's see. This language is taken. So the language is taken from one of the of what we asked from our town administrator, and I was just asking that it be applied also to his direct reports, the leaders of town. In Article 4, Section 4.1, that's where it originally is. Term of Grafton term of our Grafton town administrator, or town charter, excuse me. So then the intent was to decrease any perception now or in the future of a conflict of interest where an officer's duty to the town can be brought to question. So this is what that's why that's there. And there's also the sense that I get, don't really know who can help me with this because no one's supposed to help me per se. The part where it says hold any public office, elective or appointive, nor, I don't know if there's a conflict there with someone who's an officer where it may not be for the town administrator. But if you're in office that doesn't make any sense. So I'd hate for this to be ruled out based on a technicality. That's why I highlighted this where it can be removed.
So let me make one comment about not supposed to help you.
Yes.
What do you mean by that phrase?
Well, a few things, but when it comes to writing a petition, I'm supposed to write a petition. So things like this, things where things are removed from a charter or a bylaw, my humble opinion, it's something that you can catch higher up in the chain if there's something there. That's my opinion. Don't know any legal ramifications, etc.
So you wind up dancing a fine line if you're saying, well, you guys should help me do this. It's almost like, well, we could do it too, but make the same mistakes that you make that would not get approved by the Attorney General's office. I'm thinking that this is already covered by a variety of conflict of interest laws.
Yes and no, I would say. So you can become a special municipal employee under conflict of interest law, and then be able to hold multiple offices and or elective or appointed positions. Conflict of interest law specifically gives you that out so that municipal employees can hold multiple offices, because again, we spend a lot of time combining offices, sharing positions, duplicating, these are the things that happen. They don't happen for the town administrator because, one, I have a contract, and two, I am literally 15 other public offices. If you go look at the thing, I hold I'm all kinds of different stuff, right? I don't even know what half of them are. No, I'm kidding. I know what they are.
List them. No.
Not right now. I will do it later. No, but so the only I think that I don't know. It's hard to say what the Attorney General would
say about
with that, especially when some of these people are already special municipal employees. But I think the only concern that I saw that struck out to me is, you have Paul Canoyer, who was just here.
This is exactly what I was about to say.
He's appointed to be the DPW director. He's also the sewer commissioner, and he's also the deputy fire chief.
That's right.
So the way this reads, it looks like during the hours that Grafton Town Hall is open, he cannot be a firefighter.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
He
exactly
responds to literally 90% of our
Fires.
calls.
Well,
Dave's head's gonna.
Sewer and DPW, two different jobs right there.
True.
Yeah.
But this is written in such a broad way that it does suggest that no one could engage in any sort of volunteer business during these hours if they were not on PTO that day. That's firefighting, but that's also like running to do something for the Grafton Senior Center, running a meal or something, right? This is extremely prohibitive.
I think it seems like the intent here was about somebody having a job for the town and then having another job for another entity, like another town or another business.
This is because Mr. Berger works in Northborough.
That's right.
There's no other, you don't have to dance around it. Everybody knows what it is. So this is specifically to fix that one problem, but I think it creates a host of other problems. And I will say it also, as a town administrator, takes away my ability to schedule my people as I see fit. So because Mr. Berger's in Northborough in the afternoons does not mean that he's not giving 40 plus hours to the town of Grafton, which is within my purview currently, maybe not after this, but currently to decide where, when, and how staff are deployed.
The other question I have, Dave, you'll shudder when I say this, but the term town officers, what does that mean? Because it's not defined anywhere.
In the town charter.
Your language,
no.
In the town charter.
We've been over this.
Which copy of the town charter am I looking at here? Town charter. Section 7-5, definitions, paragraph M. The words town officer, when used without further qualification or description, shall mean a person having charge of an office or department of the town, who in the exercise of the powers or duties of that position exercises some portion of the sovereign power of the town. In other words, basically department head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's as defined in the charter. Without further qualification, it refers to specifically to a department head.
Right. So, is Bob a town officer?
Mm-hmm.
Is his, as a building inspector?
Yeah, he's definitely a department head. No doubt. So, you've got.
So through our custom, he's a department head.
It's the same thing as a town officer.
I would then say, show me in my job description where it says I'm a department head.
Oh, it does though.
Does.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We have 3 hands up in the audience, folks that haven't had a chance to weigh in on this. It's Greg, Angelina, and then a member of the public. So please let's start with Greg.
Yeah. So I just want to comment on the part about we're not supposed to help you with this. I believe that people can seek help with drafting citizens petitions beforehand, and in fact the form encourages it. We can provide feedback in public hearings about it. What by we, I mean town officials in general, my understanding is that we are not allowed to modify. We have to put in the citizens petition as provided and bring that to the floor as provided, where it can be then amended subject to the rules of town meeting. And that is my understanding of the laws and regulations and stuff involved there. That's all.
Thanks, Greg. Angelina?
It seems like this is far too broadly worded to put into the bylaws. While I understand the spirit of what is trying to be done here, this is going to cover so many things that we're not expecting it to catch. And, to say that they can't engage in any other business or occupation, what does that even mean? That's so broad. During those, I don't know. I think it's far too broad to put into the bylaws.
And that is as opposed to the charter, or in general, any
far
other
too
documents.
broad to be
Thank you.
any wording controlling anything around what a town officer does. It's very vague language. I mean, is it possible to have a part-time town officer? The information that just was read by, Dave didn't say anything about a town officer being full-time. So what if someone's part-time? Then they can't do anything else during these hours. It doesn't make sense to me to word something like this and have it be part of the town, anything.
The way of taking care of the special municipal employees is just to include that in there, but you still don't. We don't want to have this affect the way Evan runs the town.
No, definitely. That's what I'm saying.
We also have a member of the public with a hand up. That's
I can't even see
Ms. Marr.
Hi.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Amy.
Oh,
we can hear you.
Awesome. Amy Marr, 36 Ferry Street, South Grafton. I just want to clarify that while I am on the school committee, I'm appearing here as just a citizen. My comment on this, and I totally understand what the petitioner's trying to do here. I don't have an opinion on that. While Angelina pointed out the broadness of this article, I want to point out the specificity of the last part and the fact that it removes the town administrator's ability to change the town office hours, which only apply to the municipal center, and even then, only part of the municipal center follows those hours. We have staff all over the town that observe different hours, like the library or the school department. So I would definitely not want to see something that specific appear in a document that has to be changed by a vote of town meeting, because that's definitely removing an operational power of the town administrator.
Yeah, no matter what you do, trying to put a limit here, you say town officers, but you're going to crimp his ability to run the town.
Any further discussion on Article 41? Okay, in the interest of time, let's move on to 42.
So Article 42, here I said the language once again was adopted from what we already had for our, you can go ahead and click to the next, it's what we have for our town administrator. So we may run into some of this to similar challenges, I'm not sure. But just asking for an annual review. Oops, I can't see that. A job performance of town officers, which shall, at least in summary, be in the form be a public record. So just asking of, so the intent is to increase transparency in our various departments as there are plans and potentially corrective actions that either cannot or will not be shared. This petition allows for transparency to our citizens while protecting items which are considered private by employment from employment law standpoint. So how are we doing?
Greg has his hand raised.
My question was kind of related to what you just said at the end. Is the which shall, at least in summary form, be a public record, violate any state or federal, or for that matter, local employment laws? I guess that would be a question for town council through Evan.
But that would almost be simple. Evan could provide a redacted copy of it, taking out anything that he can't reveal to the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it's legal or not, or how that would work. Council hasn't given me a full report of what they think would happen after this passes. It's essentially their initial pass, as you know, with citizens petitions, is the legality of it being on the warrant and actionable, and it's something that the town meeting could take action on. Whether or not the repercussions later are worth it or not is a different conversation that kind of comes as we get closer to town meeting. We don't have that yet. So
you do expect that we'll have an opinion from town council on that before town meeting? So.
How our new town council, which you haven't met yet, is fantastic. How valuable their opinion will be is yet to be seen, because a lot of times with citizens petitions, the legality of what happens after town meeting says yay or nay may not be determined. Depends on case law, depends on state law. So, you also have to figure out how far down that rabbit hole you go for, $225 an hour.
Right.
Angelina?
This feels unnecessarily intrusive into people's jobs to me, to have your review become public record. Like, I understand that they're working for a town, but they're also employees. So I don't know. That just feels wrong to do that. You have when you elect someone, you have the process of re-electing them, and that gives an opinion, like a public opinion of what's going on, and all of that is public. But in your job to be have your review made public doesn't feel appropriate to me, but
I'm going to concur with Angelina. I think this goes back to my initial feeling for the first article, which now relatively moot, but again, it's kind of one of those things that if it were put in front of me and I had options, this would be something that would potentially drive me away. I don't know, Evan, if you have a different thought.
So my review is entirely public.
Yeah. This is why I'm not a municipal employee.
Yeah, right. It's not a great process. But I can also say that generally speaking, when the town administrator, at least, review is going to become negative, it becomes much less of a public process. Because now you have executive session and you have lawyers and you have all the rest of it. So, I think that, I don't know. I think that it's, well, I'm not going to speak to the legality of it because I don't really know. I was going to give you my best guess, but it's probably not appropriate.
Yeah, it's a $225 an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll wait for that.
I'll get that for you.
Are you saying that if it's if the town administrators, the portion that could be public record, or you said yours is 100% public record,
Correct,
is negative, then the town administrator lawyers up, gets a lawyer?
Depends on how that's going. But generally speaking, they start becoming negative when you're going to get rid of the town administrator.
Fair.
So if you look at what happens in communities, usually around that time, they go into, well, let me put it this way. So if you're going to hold a disciplinary hearing, most of those things will happen in executive session with attorneys present and so on and so forth. It's a little bit different. I was trying to draw a parallel that maybe isn't the best example, but besides lamenting that my entire process is in public.
So here's another, there's at least a couple of pieces of information. So know that the things that I brought forth it's not just a me thing, it's a we thing.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Oh, yeah. So one of the things that I did is that I do have over 100 data points, which basically gave me 4 pieces that have informed how can I make systemic change. And also, I work in the human resources. And one of the interesting pieces is that if something happens to someone and the person who they report to says, "Don't worry, I took care of it," you'll never know what happened. I feel like there's several things that feel protective from the town perspective, like, hey, we have to protect, but the transparency, I don't understand. What I'm asking for here is what you can share. Please help us as citizens to feel that we were heard around the things that it's like, listen, I can't talk about it. There's a plan, we're doing something, but we can't tell you what it is. We can't tell you anything that's happened. What can you tell us? What is measurable? That's what we're asking for, is that a summary of these people who are the heads of offices, that we have some kind of summary. What that is does not have to be a deep dive into their deepest, darkest, if they're on a performance plan. We don't expect that, but...
Well, so then you're not going to really get anything.
Can I feel like the taking a step back from these specific articles, it seems like the motivation is a sense that there isn't enough accountability, or at least not enough. People don't see it if it's happening. I feel like it feels like that's the sentiment that's driving a lot of this, and I don't know what could fix that. I think another important point to make here is the information that a resident would need to bring valid, effective citizen petitions forward was not really reasonably easily available in this case. So that's another, I guess, point to kind of take note of. But I just feel like there's still that, regardless of what happens with these articles, I feel like there's still that sense of people don't see the level of accountability that they're hoping for. whether it's happening or not. They're not seeing it.
Unfortunately, you can't see it because the positive job performance is that somebody retains their job. And the negative is when something bad is happening and they don't have their job anymore.
Well,
and so it's their absence. And if there's a ongoing plan, you're not going to know about it, and you can't share that. You can't do that in the public sector any more than you can do it in the private sector.
So, well, the middle path there is a negative review leads to change, and I think from what I've been hearing from this conversation that's been happening, people feel like the things that they're complaining about have been going on for a while and not changing. I think that's what's driving this feeling of wondering where the accountability is. So, yeah, I think it's not necessarily people are going after someone and wanting to get rid of them, but just wanting the things they think are not right to change.
Greg, you have your hand up?
Yep, just a couple procedural notes. Since you are planning to amend this motion on the floor, and you are saying add to the Town of Grafton bylaws, I highly recommend that you look at Section 20 or Article 20 of the bylaws and find an appropriate place in there and call out the article and section number, and also look in that section for existing things which might do that, such as there already being a place for the town administrator to do an annual review, and therefore it makes sense to add this text to that particular section. I'm not saying that at this point that there is a specific one for that, but that would be a good thing to do before bringing forward amended motion. That's it.
So, Dave Robbins, answering yet another bylaw question.
Yes, please.
I would direct your attention to General Bylaws, Article 20, Section 4-22, which has the heading of Performance Review. It discusses specifically evaluation of an employee's performance by the department head. It doesn't, and I don't see, I'm not aware of any section of the bylaw that specifically addresses the review of the department head's performance by the town administrator. The charter gives the town administrator general authority to, among other things, conduct employee reviews. So there is possibly, if you look at it the right way, a gap in the bylaws regarding performance review addressing the administrator's review of the department heads. Now, Evan has been working with Labor Council on a more general, more comprehensive update to Article 20. On the Bylaw Study Committee, we didn't dig deeply into that because of the ongoing review. That this particular topic may or may not come up as part of that, but that is one place in the bylaws where performance reviews are specifically mentioned.
If I was sitting in his chair, I would say I'm the department head of department heads, so I'm going to review all department heads, regardless of whether you call me the town administrator or not.
Sure. We don't have to go too far into it, but there is a distinct downside to providing annual reviews for municipal employees when it comes time to part ways. Because generally speaking, because of their public nature, they are more positive, and you take care of things offline, generally speaking. And then when it comes time to terminate the employee, all they have is positive reviews. Been to many a legal seminar where that's the topic of conversation.
Fair. Any additional thoughts, questions of 40, 41, 42? Okay. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
An education for us all, I think.
Yeah. can I count on there being no more charter and bylaw questions?
Absolutely, you cannot.
No.
However, we can't keep you here.
Well, since I'm here, it takes more energy to get up and leave than it does to sit here.
It's only 3 doors to block. We could keep it.
That's true. That's true. We like
No,
having
Dave
you
will
around,
stay.
Dave.
Yeah.
All right, so Article 43.
Yeah, he doesn't know what mine is yet, so.
Yours is straightforward.
Yeah, actually mine is pretty straightforward. I'm the developer of the Elm Rock Estates subdivision in Grafton, and we're here tonight for a road acceptance. And it's already been previously vetted by all the boards in town. And I believe, I think Bill, Mr. McCusker's here as well. He's the ZBA, and this was actually a comprehensive permit. And we've met all the requirements and the plans and whatnots and the sign-offs for the DPW, conservation, legal requirements, worked with Katrina, Fiona. Planning board also had a hand in some of the recent information. So I'm just here to answer any questions, and Mr. McCusker here is also in attendance if you did have any questions.
I have no questions.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's very straightforward.
The planning board vote on this already?
The planning board reviewed this. This is a first in Grafton in terms of street acceptance. Up to now, street acceptance in subdivisions, and it's basically the only thing we've done in any recent years. The subdivision is entirely permitted by the planning board, and the subdivision rules and regulations have a very detailed procedure spelled out for what you have to do leading up to getting your road accepted, determination of completeness, the whole 9 yards, which the planning board normally does. The last step being the citizen's petition to town meeting for acceptance. No matter, by whatever path a street acceptance reaches the town meeting, the planning board is expected to weigh in to review and make a recommendation. In this case, the planning board basically said, we've looked at it, we really have no comments because it was not, the planning board was not otherwise involved in this. So a comprehensive permit done as a subdivision whose streets ultimately get accepted by the town. This is the first time we've ever done this in Grafton. So it's kind of new to us, but the language of the comprehensive permit basically says the ZBA does, other than the board's required review by state law and by general bylaw, the ZBA does everything that the planning board would normally do as far as road acceptance. And the documentation basically says the ZBA has done everything that my board would have done.
Okay.
Bill?
Yeah, I'll just, follow on what Dave said. So instead of the planning board voting on it, the ZBA did. We actually went through the same process. We were guided by the planning department. We went through the same process. I hope, I'd like to think we went through the same process that the planning board would go through to get to the end result of voting to approve this. So the ZBA acts as the planning board in the case of the 40B like this, and I believe we've done all of that work appropriately.
Excellent. Phenomenal.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Happy street.
Thanks a lot.
Happy street, Merry Street.
In May.
Exactly.
Any snowstorms between now and then you take care of.
Yep. It's the bond's still active, right, Bill?
We'll have another one of these coming up someday, right, Bill?
Yeah, probably next year at this time.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Okie dokie, as the night grows long. We are now at section G. This is the BVT 19 and 20. These were the articles around funding for the year and that $10 million potential borrowing for the roof.
Unless, we've covered it. It's
ad nauseum.
Yes, so unless anyone has any specific questions.
I certainly do not.
Okay.
Anyone?
There's no one here to answer anything.
I didn't think so. H, Nelson Park and Memorial Trustees, Article 9.
So, let me say this about that.
Please.
Seeing as how I can't comment on it to start with, but this shouldn't reflect that it's being submitted by the trustees.
No?
No, this, well, his will says that the trustees are to be elected at the town meeting.
Okay.
So
So I'm going to change it to select board because it's procedural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, you know, it's not something that the trustees are going to come and advocate for.
Right. It's already done, Skip.
Okay. You know, that's all. And
so I'll speak to it then. So we're going to reappoint Skip Courier to that position.
Phenomenal.
Well, I'm the only person that's on the ballot to be elected.
Well, that makes it very easy.
There you go. Handled.
Section I. This is for you, Mary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 22. If there's any conceivable way that you would like to condense these talking points.
So
you are
muted.
You're muted. Hey, Mayor. Do
Yes.
you want me to? The only one I would need any help on is Article 4. Do you want to do Article 4? And since I'm in the room, I can probably do the other ones. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
So Article 4 is to cover some operational deficits that we have. So that will cover our Board of Assessor vehicle. We had a hard time purchasing it. And when we finally had vehicles, they were a little more money. So I need roughly $5,900 for the Board of Assessor vehicle. The town administrator vehicle, I need $39,000 for that. The police fence, $15,690. Snow and ice, $175,000. And IT maintenance, $100,000. This covers some budget shortfalls for some new software that we purchased, Near Map, and the strategic plan for ClearGov. Did you have any questions on that?
Do we have the total amount? I believe we normally include that in our recommendation.
Yes.
I can email. Oh, look at that. $335,637.
Sorry, say that one more time. 335.
335,637.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we will email that as well, just to be clear. Did that die? No, it's just asleep. Oh. As I would like to be. All right, thank you, Mayor. I can do the other ones.
Okay.
Just because I'm here, and you can correct me when I inevitably get something incorrect.
Sounds good.
Take it away.
Article 1 is a standard article that we do each and every year. This transfers money from the road improvement stabilization fund to the road improvement capital expenditures fund. So essentially moving from the savings account to the checking account.
Yep.
Right? Article 2, $15,000 for the fire department retirement account. We had someone retire that was not budgeted for, and this is their severance component.
15. What were they on the fire department for 150 years?
I think it's more than one person.
Skip, there was multiple retirements this year, and then so that will cover the deficit, and then I'll have a little money going forward.
I was just giving Evan a hard time. He said we had someone retire from the fire department at $100 a year. That's somebody for 150 years.
I also didn't want to get called out of not remembering anybody's names, so I was trying to gloss over it. Thank you, Skip. Article 3, $50,000 for free cash for OPEB trust. That's us building up the OPEB trust. That's not anything really odd. Article 5. So William and I have been working on this EV charging, getting EV charging stations here at the municipal center. We got a $50,000 grant to do so. Because this building is old and the infrastructure is old and we keep running into more and more pitfalls, our total expense, the delta between what we have in a grant and what it's going to cost to add the 3 separate stations here is $51,000. So that's what we're asking to do.
Are these municipal use or public use or
They will
both?
be public use, so we'll have one at the senior center, one behind that is more strictly for municipal use, because that's where hopefully our electrified municipal fleet will park by the cooling tower, and then one down a little bit farther in the front of the building. So,
Thank you.
yeah, the major problem, just in case anybody wants to know, is that the generator is specific to the size of the building, and we're at capacity already. So the only way to do that is to add a transfer switch, so that if we lost power, you can't charge your vehicle, but we also won't blow up the generator.
Yep. Details.
Yeah, and it's been a heck of a ride. We've been working on this for like 2 years, so we're getting there.
We're almost there.
Yep. This is great. The next one is for our tax work off. For I think the first one, K, is senior citizens. Yes, senior citizens over the age of 60. I should probably phrase that differently. Anyone over the age of 60. And it used to be property tax reduction of $1,500. We're now moving that up to $2,000 because the law has changed and allows us to do that. The Article 7 is the same program but for veterans, and that only allows us to go to $1,500 based on, they did not change that particular Mass General law. Yeah, I think that is that section. You want me to just keep rolling, because I think the rest of them are all
22 still
22
lies under finance director.
Sure.
And then we can move back to
Let's jump up to 22. 22 is, okay, so this is, we have our OPEB trust and any other trust that we may have. This allows us to invest that money more prudently and hopefully get a better return on investment. So rather than your traditional vehicles like savings accounts, CDs, and stuff that are very slow, we can invest that money.
Get some Bitcoin.
Get some Bitcoin.
Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Love Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right, Mary? That was good. No, not the Bitcoin part.
Not
Just
yes.
the general my interpretation.
Yes, we can invest it differently.
For the record, the Bitcoin thing was a joke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before anybody
so.
complains online.
Our OPEB trust / Bitcoin account.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, now on to Article 5, please, sir.
Yes. Article 5 is.
I think you did that.
Yeah, I did that. So we're gonna go to.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I kind of just went in order here.
Yeah,
So now we're on
you're
8.
Smart. Yes, 8.
So 8 is we do this every year.
Yeah.
Oh, Angelina, go ahead, Angelina.
Sorry. For 22, what you're going to invest in, what can you invest in now, and what could you invest in if this passes?
So this allows us to go through, we could be in an ETF, mutual funds, any of those other, basically traditional vehicles that may be a little more aggressive, because we have so long and so much money to try to get our OPEB account to. We can tolerate a little more risk than you would if, say, we were 100% funded. Then you would pull it back into a more stable investment vehicle.
Okay, thanks.
College savings account.
Okay.
Target date fund for the town's retirement.
Okay, Article 8, standard article. We do it every year. We don't hear reports anymore. That is done through the town report and or town website. So, Article 10. I'm going to just zip through, and if you have questions, please just shout them out. Article 10 is just moving our Chapter 90 money over into an account that we can then spend the money out of, which we do every single year. Article 9 allows the select board to deem things surplus and sell them such to the terms and
You
conditions.
mean Article 11?
Article 11, I apologize. What did I say, 2?
9.
9? Wow.
Oh, 9's
Go
11.
backwards.
Wow. Not even close.
No.
Did 11 minus 2 and came up
Yeah,
with 9.
there you go. That's what I did. Yes, that's quick math.
man.
Thanks, Greg.
Just can't let go of Article 9, can we?
I really can't. Okay, Article 12 authorizes the treasurer collector to borrow money from time to time to continue to fund the government. It has to be authorized by town meeting, obviously, but it allows us to keep doing that. Article 13, no, yes, Article 13 is our standard consent agenda item that deals with our revolving accounts. Article 14 lets us continue to request funding from WRTA for our transportation services that we do for the senior center. Article 15 is the omnibus, which is very large, but we have gone over already. I have made no changes since the last time it was proposed to you. Okay, moving on. Article 16 is the capital article. Capital article can be found on Appendix B. The capital items can be found in Appendix B. We are spending a total of $2,096,000. $1,128,500 from certified free cash and $967,500 from the capital stabilization fund. The only difference in this, I believe, since last time we spoke, is that I was able to get ClearGov to work and give me the correct output numbers.
Sweet.
It was one button.
Well, that's good because I used it in the state of the town.
What's that, Greg? What'd you say, Greg?
That's good because I used them in the state of the town
Perfect.
message.
Yes. No, it was one stinking button. It was really irritating. But we figured it out, and I will forget it before next year. Article 17 is already done. Sorry.
21, I think, is the next one.
That's
correct. Good man, thank you.
Yep.
See if the town will vote to appropriate $2.5 million for a new ladder truck, which I believe we have discussed.
We have.
Okay.
Glad you got that on there for.
Yep, I'm
snuck it in.
Snuck it in. We're good to go. Prudent investment rule. We've already done.
That's it.
Oh, sorry.
We have done.
You're done.
Yeah.
We did it.
All right. Well.
Oh, I forgot to turn on the stopwatch.
That was pretty good, right?
That was not bad.
I only had to have people correct me like 7 times. So.
All right. That is the review of all of the warrant articles. Thank you for everyone that came and spoke through their articles this evening. Second item on the list is the recommendations.
Public hearing.
Thank you, Greg. I would like to. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I would like the motion to close public hearing.
Do you have a second? All right. And we will roll call Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Angelina.
Aye.
And Heather.
Aye.
Perfect. We are now closed for the public session. Thank you, everyone.
Public hearing.
Hearing. Sorry.
I'm going to take that as a clue that I can get my tail out of here.
Yes.
You.
We'll talk to you later.
Quick! Somebody block the door. Yeah. All right. Phenomenal. So now we shall go through the recommendations for the reviewed warrant articles. Now, if I recall this correctly, we vote on all of the puppies, including, but we can do the consent agenda as one, right?
Yeah, look at last year's
Yeah,
blurb.
that was.
Yeah, it was last year. That's how you did it. Consent agendas, unless you had something specific that you wanted to hold out. But
I certainly don't believe that would be necessary this time around. Okay. So let's look at consent agenda 1, which covers articles 1 through 7. Do I hear a motion to approve consent agenda 1 as written?
So moved.
To recommend passage of consent agenda 1 as written. And do I have a second?
Second.
Perfect. By roll call, Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip.
Abstain.
Greg.
Aye.
Angelina.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
That motion passes.
consent agenda 2, your thing.
Isn't mine in the consent agenda?
You're 2.
There's 2 consent agendas.
Oh.
That's alright.
It's okay. It's passed. You're good.
Yeah.
And then does someone want to write the recommendation for
It's
that
the same as
one, or
last
you want to
year's.
do it at the. You want to assign the writing at the end.
Do we have last year's?
Probably.
Oh.
Just want to recycle that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It was so well written last year that we recycle it. So you'll kind of get the idea of this over time. See, when there are certain ones that we use from last year, you are now Sue Fiacco, the author of standard items. So we look to you to just
Great.
put in last year's, unless anybody else wants to write something different.
I feel like last year's was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's it. This way we don't cut down on the number that we even have to be involved in doing.
No, I like it. All right. Do we have a motion to? I've already corrected.
I move to recommend passage. I move that the Finance Committee recommends passage of Consent Agenda 2 as written.
Second.
Beautiful. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Abstain.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Beautiful. That passes with one abstention. That brings us to Article 15, the full omnibus. Do I hear a motion that the Finance Committee recommends the passage of Article
So moved.
15 as written? Thank you. A
Second.
Okay, all in favor or not? Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Beautiful. That passes. I believe we also have
A blurb for that.
from, yeah, that's the same. Article.
Wait a minute. Wait for Sue to answer. Does she see a blurb from last year?
Yes, we have it from last
Yeah.
year.
16, yeah.
Beautiful. Article 16. Do I hear a motion to move that the Finance Committee recommends to approve Article 16 as written, which is the article for
So moved.
capital stabilization?
Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And that motion passes. I believe we also have a blurb from last year for that guy. Article 17. This is sewer enterprise. Do I hear a motion to the Finance Committee approves the Article 17 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And A or nay, Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Thank you very much, and that passes. I believe we have a blurb from last year for that as well. That is routine. Article 8.
Can we
Yes.
just review that last motion for accuracy? What was the motion?
To approve Article 17 as written.
Yeah.
To approve Article 17.
To recommend passage.
Recommend passage of Article 17 is written.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Amy.
You think I'd have it down by now, but I'm gonna. Oh boy, we're just
She's
getting
on a
started.
roll.
Yeah.
Okay, next is Article 18, the Cable Oversight Committee budget. We have a recommendation to approve Article 18 as
Recommend
written.
passage.
Recommend passage of Article 18 as written.
So moved. Second.
Perfect. Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Angelina.
Aye.
And Heather.
Aye.
Perfect. We'll have a blurb for that as well. Article 19. This is to fund Blackstone Valley. Do I hear to recommend passage of Article 19 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Angelina.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Thank you. I believe we have this written as well.
Yeah, I've been doing it for
Yeah,
23 years.
Yeah.
19 is the budget, so yes, 20 was
20 is
different.
not,
20 is not.
20 is the debt exclusion.
That's right. Will I hear a motion to recommend passage of Article 20 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Abstain.
Angelina?
Aye.
And Heather?
Aye.
Okay. That passes with Greg abstaining. Who would like to write?
I will, because I could go back in my files from 2001 for the last debt exclusion we had for up there. And just cross out a few words and add a few, and we're all set.
Thank you, sir. Very much so. Appreciate it.
I'm impressed you have files from 2001.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I have them bolder than that.
I'm sure.
Those are the ones I forget. I know where to find them.
Okay. Article 21. Do we hear?
I move to recommend passage of Article 21 as written.
Second.
Perfect. And Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Okay. And that motion passes. Anyone in
I'll
specific?
do that.
Okay.
I get those two.
Thank you, Skip. Article 22, do I hear a motion to recommend Article 22 as written?
So moved.
So moved. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second. Oh.
And, okay. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Nay.
And Heather?
Aye.
That passes with one nay from Angelina.
Oh, just a quick point of order. We
Please.
should have a pause for discussion before the vote.
Oh, right, sorry.
I assumed anybody would have spoken up if they felt like they wanted to say something.
But still, you're absolutely correct. Whom would like to write the blurb for this?
Is it open? I can.
Thank you. Okay, Article 23. Is there any discussion on this article? Thank you for the reminder, Dan. Okay, hearing none. Motion.
I move we support the passage of Article 23 as written.
Second.
Perfect. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Perfect. This is any. I'm happy to write this one.
This is 23. Yeah, we
23 and 24 should have.
Oh, we
Yeah,
have
they're
a bunch of
canned.
blurbs. Yeah, those
we
are
should
the
have
canned
those.
tour ones, right? Okay.
Yeah. 25 is different though.
Yeah. Oh, you're absolutely correct. Okay. Any discussion for Article 24, which is for the O&M emergency account for sewer? Okay. Hearing none. Motion to recommend passage of 24 as written.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
That passes. And as you so astutely pointed out, we have blurbs. Okay, 25. Any discussion on 25, which is to move that $150,000 to the plant upgrades for the plan to change the water sprinklers to non-water sprinklers for electrical and data rooms. Seeing none, motion to recommend the passage of Article 25
So
as written.
moved.
Second.
Okay, and Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And I'll write this one. Okay. Since I said I would write the other one that I don't have to write. Okay, Article 26. This is the CPC budget. Any discussion here? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to recommend passage of Article 26?
As written, so moved.
Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
And Heather?
Aye.
Okay, great, that passes. I'm sure there's blurbs. CPC blurbs.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Article 27. This is to make the 16th of 20 payments on the Pell Farm property. Any discussion here? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to recommend the passage of Article 27 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. Dan? Kyle?
Aye.
And Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. I'm sure there's also a blurb for this, at least out of the last 60 people. Yeah, exactly. Great. Article 28. This is to pay the 10th of 20 payments for the bond for the townhouse. Any discussion here? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to recommend passage of Article 28 as written?
So moved.
So moved.
Beautiful. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
And Heather?
Aye.
Phenomenal. That passes. I'm sure there's also a pre-written blurb here. Next is Article 29. This is to appropriate the sum for the GHA's emergency fund or dole out fund to $20,000 for the Gallagher Rental Assistance Program. I do want to say that I think that is very, very sweet that they've named it that. I think that's very touching. It's a wonderful piece of Grafton lore that will go on long after all of us. Yes. Any additional statements for that? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion to recommend the passage of Article 29 as it is written?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
And Heather?
Aye.
That passes. That'll be, the blurb exists for that from last year as well. Okay. Next is Article 30. This is the next round of funding in the sum of $194,000 from the CPC to the preservation of the Cisco homestead. Any discussion around Article 30? Okay, if not, is there a motion to recommend passage of Article 30 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
And Heather?
Aye.
Perfect. That passes. I do not know if there's an existing blurb for this. I doubt it. Would anyone like to?
Yeah, I can do it. What I would do is get a hold of John just for a little bit more detail on exactly what they're going to do, so it can make it a little more nicey.
That'd be great. Thank you. Nicey is what we strive for. Article 31. This is to appropriate $120,000 from the community preservation budget to fund the restoration of the rotting wood, the Congregational Church of Grafton, as well as that kind of rhino paint that we were discussing.
Just the wood, not the painting.
I'm so sorry?
Just the wood, not the painting. The painting's not. Painting's a separate part of it, not
the painting
covered
is
by
part of
CPC.
it. The painting is part of it. It's only the painting of the wood that they replace.
Okay, so yeah.
That rhino coating.
Rhino shield.
Rhino shield.
Yeah, they'll probably be doing the whole thing, but
right. The part we're funding is only the part
just
on the new wood.
the replacement stuff.
Yes.
Understood. All right. Do I hear a motion to recommend the passage of Article 30 as written? Or 31, excuse me, as written.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
I'll abstain for this one.
Okay. Craig?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
All right. That passes with one abstain.
Just along the lines of being clear, I was a member of that church. I don't know how long that lasts, but I don't want to have it said that there was anything.
Fair.
I
Fair
believe
enough.
it's eternal.
Yeah.
Well, it could be.
If you're playing your cards right.
I'm not having anybody come after me and have to talk to those people in Boston about failing to disclose anything.
Very fair. Very fair.
I'll probably get a call anyways.
Is there any volunteer for the writing of this blurb? I will volunteer to write this blurb. I'm not a member of that church, so no one can say.
Oh, I could write the blurb. It's just I can't vote on it.
Free and clear all the way around. All right, perfect. Article 32. This is a very similar article, different church. This is appropriate the sum of $65,000 to the Baptist Church to shore up the rotting wood on the bottom of the columns in the front of the church. Are there any discussion here? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to recommend passage of Article 32 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Beautiful. Vote. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
And
Aye.
passes. If no one,
I volunteer you for doing it.
I
You
was-
just
I was gonna-
replace the exterior woodwork with the bottoms of the columns.
that's what I was gonna do. All right, beautiful.
You don't get credit for that.
I'm gonna give myself half credit in my mind. Next is Article 33. This is to transfer the 10% funds from the Affordable Housing Reserve to the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust, keeping in mind that this is now both the end of fiscal year 24 and the beginning of fiscal year 25's revenue transfer. So that's that 10% plus 10% to begin the beginning of the year funds. Is there any additional thoughts? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to recommend the passage of Article 33 as written?
So moved.
A second. Beautiful. To vote on it, Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
That passes. Do we have anyone who would like to?
Every year.
Every year? Obviously, you're right. Blurb.
Do you want to add any explanation as to the 24 and 25 thing?
You're right.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Blurb.
I do have one very small question about math.
About math?
Yeah.
No,
All
we
right.
just said we didn't.
Go
Going all night.
No. Well, I went back and looked at the 10%, and the 10% doubled is not the same as what they have.
It's a
Well,
different
last year
number.
isn't necessarily the same as this year.
It's the total amount each year.
Estimated revenue.
Last year's numbers were different.
That's a good math.
Last year's or next year's?
Yeah.
Last year and this, every year is different.
So it should be, so it'll be the 10% from last year plus the projected 10%, which is going to be higher this year.
Yes.
Okay. That
Correct.
makes sense.
Well, if I may make a suggestion, since you're already, we have the blurb from last year, we just need to add the clarifier that it's both fiscal years. We can just add that.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're a doll.
Aren't I though?
I will strike out Kyle's name from my record. Perfect. Okay, moving on to Article 34. Do we have any discussion surrounding Article 34? Which is extending the sunset date from the 282 account of the funds already appropriated towards the restoration of Grafton Common.
Don't even mention 282 account. I support the passage of the article as written.
Do you have a second?
Or move that we support the passage of the article as written.
So moved.
Second.
Beautiful. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
I abstain.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
It passes with Greg abstaining. Do we have a volunteer to write this particular blurb?
I can do it.
Ah, beautiful.
They waited you out, Dan.
Uncomfortable in the silence. Next is Article 35. This is to alter the layout of Follett Street for the new bridge, at 488 square feet of road. Do we have any discussion about this particular article? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion to recommend passage of Article 35 as written.
So moved. Second.
Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
The recommendation to approve Article 35 passes. Do we have a volunteer to write the blurb?
I could do that. What are we moving the road so that we're going to take another 488 square feet?
We have to take 480 square feet from an abutter to realign the bridge abutment with the new road layout. If you can shoot me an email or call me if we need any more information.
They'll
Clarity.
shoot by you.
I'm not going to answer it, but you can do that.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's rude.
I'll knock on the door. Timber.
Yeah.
Come to your new master.
All right, Article 36. This is simply changing the name throughout Section 10.2, or all of Section 10, as it has changed for the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Any discussion for Article 36? Hearing none, do I have a recommendation to, or do I hear a motion to recommend the passage of Article 36 as written?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Let's vote on it. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Beautiful. The recommendation to approve Article 36 passes. Would anyone like to?
I can do that.
Thank you, Kyle. Moving on to Article 37 to amend Section 1.3.3.4 of the Grafton zoning bylaw. Any conversation or discussion around Article 37? Hearing none, do I have a motion to recommend the passage of Article 37 as written?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, great. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Beautiful. The recommendation to approve Article 37 passes.
I can write this one too.
Thank you, Kyle. Article 38 to amend Section 12 surrounding the Village Mixed Use District bylaw. Do we have any discussion surrounding this article? Hearing none.
Move we support the passage of the article as written.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Beautiful. Now we shall roll call. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria? Aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
And the recommendation to approve Article 38 as written passes. Would anyone like to volunteer to write this blurb?
I can take this one too. Let's rewatch the.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Article 39, the article to amend and add definitions for hospitals and clinics under the zoning bylaws, as well as changing number 18 and adding the bullet for the clinics for outpatient care, i.e. the urgent care. Any discussion around this article? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to recommend the Passage of Article 39 as written.
So moved.
And a second. Beautiful. And roll call vote. Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Abstain.
And Heather?
Aye.
That passes with Angelina abstaining. Thank you. Do we have a volunteer for this blurb?
Can do this one too. Be all. To the planning board stuff. Well,
You just got to change a little bit of.
yeah,
people.
it's all me the same.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to Fiona. I'm sure she'll help you.
Yeah, I was planning to if I needed it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Article 40. This is the article that will inherently end up adding back a section into the bylaw defining a term for the inspector of
No.
buildings, where inspector.
No,
I'd like to talk about the next three for just a minute. We are expecting that these are going to be amended on town meeting floor and do not think that they are workable in their current solution. So my suggestion is that we do not recommend passage of these articles as written, and we'll reconsider once we have more information about amended articles or something to that effect.
Yeah, on its face, we can't do number 40.
No.
We can't support that because it's not there,
It just exists. Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
or we don't expect it.
So, if I may, just from an outsider, so it's been my experience that generally speaking, Finance Committee will vote to recommend or not recommend based on the language that is in front of them, because you don't have an amendment, and even though the applicant said that they are going to amend it,
We don't know what that looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
you don't know that that's going to happen. So generally speaking, you should be voting on what you
Strictly
have in
what's
front
here.
of you, what was submitted, and then at town meeting, if you got different information, then you would change that.
Yeah, we could it's a posted meeting, so we can re-vote it there on the floor.
Yeah, yeah. If an amendment is made, we can vote as finance committee whether to recommend.
I think the problem's going to be the amendment can't be made until the motion is made. So we could conditionally approve the day of if we are provided with the text of the amendment, and we could say we approve it if we could potentially approve it if we agree with the amended text of it.
Right, but on Article 40, we cannot support the passage of Article 40, and that's it.
I don't think we can support passing of any of these as written, 40, 41, or 42.
Right. And I think we just need to say that and then deal with any amendments that come before us at town meeting. But I wouldn't make our not accepting these conditional. I wouldn't say like we may accept, we may approve it depending on the amendment. I would just say we don't approve it the way that it's written.
Right.
Yeah, that's not what I was suggesting. I was suggesting that if the amendment is presented to us before a town meeting, we could say that we approve it with this amendment, but that's something we can discuss on the day of. But I would say we recommend we recommend against passage of these articles as written.
Just leave it at that.
We can explain why in the rationale.
The phrase we've used in the past is oppose passage, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oppose is written, and that's it.
Yeah, what we've done in the past is when there's something that we oppose as written but expect an amendment, is we say, like we mentioned that in the.
It may be amended on town meeting floor.
Yeah. And usually we'll say that we will reconsider if there are amendments made. We don't conditionally approve.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a may reconsider upon amendment made during.
Yeah, you just say that you're going to reconsider.
Any potential amendments.
Yeah, on town floor, town whatever meeting floor, whatever we used to say. What do we used to say?
I'm sure there must be a blurb if we have one. But I agree. Okay, I like that. I like keeping it boilerplate.
Because we may reconsider our recommendation based on amended language or something like that. I
Any
don't know.
potential changes.
The Finance Committee reserves the right to change its recommendation based upon any new language that may be potentially amended on town meeting floor.
Give that.
Yeah,
man
what
a
Evan
star.
said.
I love it.
Do you want Amber to just write those three to that
Yeah.
language?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Thanks, Amber.
Yeah. I'm putting the cart before the horse, but
Yeah.
So you could then, Madam Chair, make a motion for all three.
All
if you'd
three.
like.
That is the
All
Thank you.
three.
All right. Do I hear a motion to to oppose the passage of Articles 40, 41, and 42 as written?
so moved.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
All right. And to vote, Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Troy says aye. Skip.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Angelina.
Aye.
And Heather.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion to not oppose passage as written is approved. My pumpkin has arrived. Just in time. We are at Article 43. Article 43 is the citizens' petition to accept the new roadway associated with the Elm Rock Estates subdivision. Do we have any discussion here? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to recommend passage of Article 43 as written?
So moved.
Second.
And Dan?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Victoria says aye. Skip?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Angelina?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
That recommendation passes. Do we have anyone that would like to write?
You could just say that we recommend passage. We concur with the decision. Is it it wasn't the planning board? Who did it?
No,
ZBA.
I got it. I'll write it.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
I've written down.
Just say that.
You are just killing it tonight.
I like writing, so.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
did you say you like writing?
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be
do
careful.
not like writing the state of town, but I do like writing short sentences.
Beautiful. All right, that concludes all of the recommendations. That is item number 2. Last on the agenda is the review of the state of town message. Did everyone have the opportunity to read that today?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments? I found one typo, Greg. And
Well,
I know you did proud
Is
of me
it
for
find instead of fund? Because
That's
Kyle
right.
emailed that this morning.
That's right. That's right. That's a typo I found.
And
I'm
my
gonna get him.
proofreader and I have both read it
Look at
out
Greg.
loud multiple times and didn't find it. So
But did you fund it?
good one. There was one section highlighted about ongoing development projects, and I did get the information from Evan. Well, I got some information from Evan this morning. I have not had a chance to look at it because I was working today. And being a couple hours behind, I worked right up to the meeting. So I will look that over and we'll propose a section for that, and we'll send that out before our next meeting, before our final approval. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to comment about it?
Greg, okay, wait a minute. I would like to have the tone, so to speak, of the bolded line here about a Prop 2.5 or an operational override toned down a little bit. I think that's being a little bit aggressive.
This is the
Because we don't really have a long-term forecast that says that we're going to need an operational override at this time, do we?
I think
We have some long-term forecasts from the schools that were presented at their Tuesday night meeting, part of which includes returning money that was in the operational budget last year, but was pulled out and to use revolving funds to meet requirements this year. And since those revolving funds are basically empty or close to, that will need to return to the budget next year before even those increases. So it seems difficult. It seems extremely likely that it will be needed next year, but if people wish to change that, we can certainly discuss
I
that.
think without an operational override means it's a foregone conclusion.
Is that the most? Is that a problem? It feels like a foregone conclusion. Is it really? We want to set the tone, right? We want to.
Right, but and that's what I'm saying is it may result in the need for an operational override in the future. But this, to me, looks like it's more like a 75-25 as opposed to maybe or maybe not.
So, I mean, the sentence begins with, however, given the long-term forecast thus far. And I think what the forecasts say is pretty clear that there's going to be service level cuts, big service level cuts, if we don't do an override next. If those forecasts pan out and we don't do an operational override.
I think it's okay to set these expectations given what we know. Yeah. What I was trying to say.
The school department has said they used $850,000 from revolving funds to balance their budget this year. Do we have from someone something that says that we will not be able to fund the town that is objective and prepared by one person or entity that does a forecast for the town that this is happening? Or do we have a department?
Is that something we usually have?
Or do we have a department that says that they're going to need more money?
So part of the complicating factor here is that we have the forecast from the schools and we've just put it into our forecast. So I'm reluctant to give out specific numbers, but if all things remain equal, next year's projected deficit is $2.4 million. I haven't presented that to the select board yet.
We won't tell them.
But we're still, it's a work in progress, right? Schools just got there, and I said this last time I did projections. Schools, as soon as we get the schools projections, we then work it into our projections. So we've been doing that. We're working with our consultant. So within a matter of weeks, we will have a fully prepared and presentable 5-year forecast.
Okay, and that's so you're kind of making my point is that we don't have one yet.
But it's yeah, sure, but it is not looking good.
We do have a long-term forecast for the schools, and again, I think that still goes back to the phrase, given the long-term forecast we have thus far.
Right. And I think that it's heavily, I want to preface this is not like a blame game, but it's heavily based upon the forecast provided by the schools. Right? I think if the schools are projecting their 5-year forecast that they're falling behind, given the state of the municipal budget and the revenues that we've projected, I don't see us. There's no more blood to get from that stone.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what I'm trying to say.
You do have one hand on Zoom.
Angelina.
Thank you, Angelina.
Has there been any talk about switching to a 3-year forecast, 3-year? I know we mentioned it at the last meeting.
Contracts.
Is there any talk of looking at 3-year increments as being an easier amount to look at, that kind of thing?
We haven't yet. Again, we just got, I think maybe we might have had the projections a week before they were presented, so that we could start tying them out to things. But we're not there. So
Okay.
we will, I would assume that the TRICOM is going to have to start meeting and would make a recommendation of how many years of a override to ask for, should one be necessary. But our projections are always going to be 5 years, and if you want them to be shorter, just don't look at the last two. Because that's how we do everything, is on our 5-year cycle. There's one last thing. The reason we look at 5 years is because the current way that the school does their payroll, every 5th year, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but is an extra payroll, and it adds a certain percentage to the budget. So, like fiscal 25 might be fiscal 26 might be an 8%, and then it's 5,558 or 5,558 or however that works out. I don't have it in front of me. I was planning to be asleep by now.
I take full responsibility.
Oh, you're doing great.
Why don't we cogitate? We have one more meeting before the town meeting, and Greg has some additional things to add as well. Let's look at it again, maybe with fresh eyes, and final approval then.
And we do have 2 other members that are not here tonight.
Sir, yes, sir. It's an excellent point.
You pulled out cogitate at 10:01 p.m. That's impressive. I just want to
Yeah.
state that for the.
That was her sign for this is over.
Yeah.
Currently, we technically have 2 meetings, one on Wednesday and one on Thursday for town meeting logistics. Seeing as how we got everything tonight, we likely do not need Wednesday, as long as we will have enough people to finalize the things that are currently on the Wednesday agenda on Thursday.
Thursday being the
2nd.
Yes.
I don't believe I can make that one, but
Yeah, you said you can't be there.
You don't need me.
Yeah, so we'll run through the blurbs then to make sure they're all spelled correctly and punctuated appropriately.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Do we definitely have a quorum for the 2nd?
No. We'll send some emails. We'll get there.
I can be there for the 2nd. I'm just gonna call it out now. I know I cannot be there for town meeting, unfortunately. I'm in a work trip. Work trip. I have to be.
We'll reschedule.
The whole town meeting for Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Where you're landing.
I'm in New York for 4 days. Fortunately.
That's nice. Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I can't be there on Thursday either.
We'll work out your quorum issues offline.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure out the quorum issues offline, as Evan so astutely says. All right. This has been extremely productive. I want to thank everybody for their rapt attention.
Thank you, Victoria, for filling in as chair in my virtual absence.
Happy to do it. Hope my inconsistencies and lack of decorum are
great
not
job.
so.
I've been through 1,000
grating.
public meetings. It was a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Well done.
All right. Well, then, in that
Motion
case,
to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of adjourning? Dan.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Victoria's aye. Skip.
Now I want to stay here and boil the crap out of you. No, we can go. Yes,
Greg.
yes.
Angelina.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Beautiful. I declare us adjourned. Thank you all very, very much.